Chapter 1891. As they flew, the mountains rose and fell. Powerful monsters roared from time to time. Ferocious birds flew across the sky with powerful cultivators on them. Their auras swept past the Wei clan members, but they didn't sense Du Xiaofu's aura and left in disdain. With Du Xiaofu around, the Wei clansmen became bolder. They no longer hid themselves and tried to cover their tracks. Gradually, the number of people they encountered increased, but the number of demonic monsters decreased. In the end, they couldn't even see a trace of them. There seems to be a small town up ahead. Du Xiaofu stood in the air and looked around. There were buildings in front of them, but they couldn't be called a city. At most, they could be considered a small town. It's not strange. There are many small towns here, all of them left behind from ancient times. They're relatively intact. After the Heavenly Devil battlefield opened, these places became temporary strongholds for people to exchange information and trade spiritual medicines and treasures. It's said that there are also large ancient cities in the middle, but these places are all controlled by powerful forces, Wei Jiejia said to Du Xiaofu. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of wind breaking rang out in the sky. A huge shadow appeared, as if a huge dark cloud was covering the sky. It was a huge bird with a pair of frightening eyes. Its wingspan was over 100 feet, and it was obvious that it was not at its largest size. Cyan Light Demonic Eagle. Du Xiaofu looked up. This was a Cyan Light Demonic Eagle at the peak of the Beast Emperor realm. It was not a match among the monsters, but it was still ranked on the Heavenly Beast ranking. However, this Cyan Light Demonic Eagle key was somewhat lacking compared to the Silver Wing Demonic Eagle and the Thunderhawk King bloodline. Therefore, Du Xiaofu only glanced at it indifferently. A Cyan Light Demonic Eagle of this level was really unattractive in Du Xiaofu's eyes. Wei Hantong, are you also going to participate in the mercenary selection? But didn't your Wei clan send a lot of people? Why are there only a few of you left? Don't tell me all of you were killed? It seems like the Wei clan is going to decline in the future. There was a group of several dozen people on the Cyan Light Demonic Eagle. The one leading the group was an old man whose appearance and aura were similar to the Wei family's old Master Wei. He laughed loudly as he recognized the people from the Wei family. They were obviously acquaintances. Gu Laosan, your Gu family is nothing in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, right? Grand Master Wei looked at the old man on the bird with an ugly expression. Although he didn't look like an enemy, there wasn't much of a smile on his face. After this trip, my Gu family will no longer be the Gu family of the past. The old man on the bird didn't seem to care about old Master Wei's words. He laughed heartily and left, riding the bird towards the small town ahead. He's from the Gu family, another family on Qingyun Island. We've embarrassed ourselves in front of Mr. Qiao, Wei Jiejia said to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu didn't mind. It seemed that the Wei clan and the Gu family were competitors, just like the Du Yi and Bai families in Stone City. The Gu family must have obtained some treasure to be so arrogant. They don't know that Jiejia has also obtained a great treasure. When the time comes, they'll know that our Wei clan is the #1 family on Qingyun Island. Some of the people from the Wei clan gritted their teeth when they heard the old man from the Gu family. This time, the Wei clan had indeed lost many of their descendants, all of whom were blood relatives. Now that Gu Laosan mentioned it, they naturally felt uncomfortable. Du Xiaofu continued onwards, and the surrounding terrain gradually leveled out. He was getting closer and closer to the town, and there were many green plants in the surroundings, giving off a feeling of vitality. It was unlike most places in the Heavenly Demon battlefield, which made Du Xiaofu inwardly feel surprised. There are many places with greenery. It said that there's a place called Heavenly Yu Mountain, one of the few mysterious places in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. It's rumored that there are towering trees everywhere, countless spiritual herbs, and spiritual birds and beasts. It's never been tainted by evil demons. Unfortunately, it's very mysterious. Not only can it not be found, it's also impossible for living beings to set foot there, Wei Jiejia said. These were just rumors in the Heavenly Devil battlefield, and she didn't know much about it. Du Xiaofu smiled. If such a place really existed, it was only a matter of time before people set foot there. Awoo! As they approached the small town, many monsters appeared, then took human form. There were also cultivators coming from all directions, all of whom entered the small town one by one. The small town was mottled and ancient. Although it was well preserved and rather intact, it had been a long time. Many places had collapsed, leaving behind dilapidated fences and dilapidated walls. Everyone entered the town. Although it couldn't be compared to the big cities outside, compared to what Du Xiaofu had seen in the past 2 days, the small town was already very lively. Many cultivators had gathered. Du Xiaofu sized up the ancient streets and alleys, estimating that there were thousands of people. He scanned with his mind, but there weren't too many experts. However, there were quite a number of honorable realm experts. Basically, martial honorables and 8-star talisman masters had brought many young disciples with them. On both sides of the street, there were also cultivators setting up simple stalls. I accidentally obtained a Dharma weapon in exchange for a few royal-grade healing elixirs. Refining materials, gold and copper, can be used to refine high-grade Dharma weapons in exchange for honorable-grade martial skills. Similar cries of hawking could be heard incessantly, and the streets were clamorous with noise and clamor. Don't miss this chance. I accidentally obtained an ancient cave abode. It must have been left behind by an ancient expert. Suddenly, such a voice entered Du Xiaofu's ears. Du Xiaofu looked in the direction of the voice. Right beside him, a lean burly man placed a tattered scroll in front of his stall. It looked really old and he was loudly hawking. Seeing that Du Xiaofu was sizing it up, the lean burly man became even more spirited. He kept promoting, "Friend, you have good taste. You must be someone who knows what's good for you. I accidentally obtained this. Let me tell you a secret, this must be a treasure map. It contains the location of an ancient expert's residence. If you're fated to find it, you'll definitely be able to reach the heavens in a single step. It's a pity that my cultivation isn't high enough, and I don't have the luck. Right now, I can exchange it for an honorable grade elixir and a high-grade Dharma weapon." Hearing this, the eyes of the Wei clan's disciples lit up, and they carefully sized up the ancient scroll. Hee. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly and ignored them. He turned around and left with a smile. That scroll could not escape Du Xiaofu's eyes. It was just an old fake and not an ancient treasure map at all. "Friend, don't go. Do you think it's too expensive? I see that you're fated. How about a Dharma weapon? What do you think? Don't go. How about a Dao weapon? I can't go any lower. Hey, a royal grade elixir. A candidate grade elixir, I'll give you a treasure map. How about that?" Du Xiaofu ignored them and left. The young people of the Wei clan were still reluctant to leave, and they looked tempted. Chapter 1892. Blockhead, that's a fake. Old Master Wei was in a bad mood when he heard the disciples of the Wei family reprimand them. He wanted nothing more than to kick them a few times. "Great-grandfather, there are people from the Gu family up ahead." One of the Wei family youths spoke up. He saw the Gu family disciple who had just entered the town before them. Thousands of people had gathered in a small square in front of them. The square, which wasn't very big, was packed and bustling. Not only that, but there were also powerful auras. Clearly, there were also the auras of many ferocious beasts. Du Xiaofu had also sensed it long ago. He stopped and looked around. Many cultivators had gathered. The noise was loud, and their auras were surging. Peak Nirvana, revered martial artist. As Du Xiaofu probed with his mind, he narrowed his eyes. He could sense a vague aura sweeping the surroundings from the center of the crowd. It was actually a peak Nirvana martial saint. Such a cultivation was already the strongest in this small town. Those who want to go must be at least martial emperor realm. Talisman masters have priority. The requirements can be relaxed. When the time comes, the treasures we obtain will be distributed equally according to cultivation and contribution. A loud and clear voice came from the center of the crowd. It was mixed with profound energy and was extremely penetrating. "This is a mercenary selection. They're recruiting." Wei Jiajia said to Du Xiaofu, "Some people don't have enough strength to search for treasures, so they choose to form teams. It's like a mercenary group. If someone can pay the price, they won't refuse to serve others." Searching for treasures. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. He was afraid that when the time came, the treasures would be taken by those with stronger cultivation. The purpose of these people's recruitment was probably to find cannon fodder. Out of the way, don't block the way. Right at this moment, someone shouted. More than 10 people rushed over in an extremely rude and unreasonable manner. What are you blocking the way for? A burly man in short sleeves with a strong body and bulging muscles swept a Wei family youth aside. He staggered to the ground with one hand. Are you bullying us? The young man from the Wei clan was enraged. He stood up from the ground and began to berate loudly. The faces of the surrounding Wei clan members also darkened, and some of the younger ones looked furious. Forget it, all of you are dismissed. Grandpa Wei pulled these youths back. Looking at the dozen or so people and sensing their auras, he couldn't reason with them. He told the youths of Wei family not to be impulsive and that they could only swallow this loss. After all, this was not Qingyun Island. The youths were indignant, but they also understood Old Master Wei's meaning. They could only suppress their anger and withdraw. After a rough assessment, they could already sense that these dozen or so people were not to be trifled with. So what if we bullied you? You don't know what's good for you. So what if we kill you? However, even though Old Master Wei had reprimanded the Wei family disciple, the muscular man in short sleeves had no intention of stopping. Instead, his interest was piqued. He stopped in his tracks and sneered again and again. Killing intent flashed through his eyes, and he didn't care about the Wei family disciple at all. Profound energy surged out of his hand as he swatted at the youth, intending to kill him on the spot. This burly man's cultivation was very strong. He was an early-stage martial venerable. If this Wei family disciple was hit by his casual attack, he would definitely be killed. Sir, you are going too far. The other party bullied them first, and now he wanted to kill them. Old Master Wei couldn't bear it anymore. With a flick of his sleeve, his figure flashed in front of the youth in an instant. He swatted out with one hand, and the two forces collided directly. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, and a strong gust of wind caused rune ripples to disperse. The mottled stone tiles on the ground cracked. The commotion was not small, and it attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Thump thump! Both Old Master Wei and the burly man were forced back several steps at the same time. It was a draw. It's the Wei family. They are in trouble. The group of Gu family disciples who had gathered outside also saw the Wei family disciples. They were surprised and then went to the side to watch the show. Old Master Wei had not recovered from some of his injuries and was not at his peak. The burly man had also casually attacked and didn't use his full strength. If both of them died at their peak, they would be evenly matched. Oh, there is still a martial venerable here. The burly man stamped his foot and stopped his retreat. He looked at Old Master Wei in surprise, but then he sneered and said, "It seems that you are still injured. You dare to interfere with the people I want to kill? Old thing, you can go die yourself." Boom! As his voice fell, the burly man's aura trembled violently. A terrifying aura soared into the sky, and he was about to attack again. Old 14, forget it. Come back. At this moment, a low voice came from the center of the crowd. As this voice came out, the packed crowd automatically parted to reveal a small square in the center. There were no less than 300 or 400 people standing in the center of the small square. At the front were a dozen or so men and women of different appearances, but they didn't look too young. In the center was an old man who looked to be in his 50s. His shoulder-length hair was eye-catching, half black and half silver. His eyes were calm, as if there were no waves. It was obviously him who had spoken just now. Humph! Hearing that voice, the burly man snorted coldly at Old Master Wei. He withdrew his aura and said, "Consider yourself lucky today. If I see you again, I will not forgive you." With that, the burly man led the people behind him directly to the square. A sneak attack, isn't that a little underhanded? But at this moment, Du Xiaofu suddenly spoke. With a wave of his hand, an invisible wave swept out toward the Wei clan. Crackle crackle. In an instant, a dozen energy arrows appeared above the Wei clan's heads. Runes shone brightly and surged with killing intent. Then, they were annihilated and dissipated in the distorted space. That was close. Only then did the Wei clan's people, including Old Master Wei, realize that there was a fatal killing intent just now. If Mr. Qiao hadn't acted, they probably wouldn't even know how they died. If you want a sneak attack, then you will have to pay the price. A calm voice came from Du Xiaofu's mouth. At the same time, the hand he had just waved fell forward. An invisible wave immediately spread out in the air. Bang 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 bang, the speed was too fast. In just an instant, the burly man and the dozen or so others had no idea what was happening. Lightning flashed within their bodies, and then their bodies exploded. Their spirits were destroyed. In the end, they died without even knowing what had happened. Something interesting is about to happen. That man killed 14 of the Lushan 14 owls. He's in big trouble now. The crowd was in an uproar. There was a surge of qi, and the people who were clustered around immediately retreated. In the center of the square, the expressions of the dozen or so people at the front changed drastically. Waves of extremely extraordinary auras soared into the sky, shaking the void. "Brat, you're courting death." A cold glint appeared in the eyes of the 50-year-old man in the middle. A cold light shot out from his eyes. This old man in his 50s was the leader of the Lushan 14 owls. He was the one who secretly attacked just now. He wanted to establish his authority here so that the people around him would respect him in the future. However, that old man had never expected that he would be stopped by someone, and that his 14th brother would be killed. Chapter 1893. Mr. Qiao. The disciples of the Wei family immediately gathered around Du Xiaofu, their hearts still palpitating and their foreheads covered in cold sweat. They had almost been killed just now. Thinking about it now, they still felt their hair stand on end. The other party was too strong, so strong that they could take their lives without a sound. "Thank you, Mr. Qiao, for saving us again." Old Master Wei was very grateful, but looking at the old man and the dozen people with terrifying auras, his gaze was also very serious. He transmitted his voice into Du Xiaofu's ear. "These are the Lushan 14 owls, 14 sworn brothers. They are infamous in Wanzhou. Because they are treacherous, cunning, and very strong, even the big forces are not willing to provoke them easily." "The Lushan 14 owls, huh? Since you've already paid the price, get lost." Du Xiaofu said. The strength of these people was not bad. They were all in the martial honorable realm. The strongest one was already at the peak of the Nirvana martial honorable realm. He was only one step away from the domain realm. Indeed, he was definitely an overlord in the continent. However, Du Xiaofu did not take it to heart. He was just too lazy to make a move. It was fine as long as these people did not provoke him. "Kid, are you talking to us?" Beside the leading old man, a tall middle-aged man stared straight at Du Xiaofu. His eyes were cold and murderous, and the corners of his eyes were twitching. "What, you want to fight? You can come and try." Du Xiaofu said calmly, looking straight at the middle-aged man. He did not have a good impression of these people. If they still wanted to provoke him, he did not mind killing them. "Kid, you're really tired of living." The tall middle-aged man finally could not take it anymore. A terrifying cold aura exploded from his body, wanting to freeze the surrounding space. Some of the cultivators around who were not strong enough instantly had frost appear in their eyes, so cold that their souls trembled. "Chila!" The middle-aged man attacked. He stomped his foot on the ground, and an extremely cold aura rushed out. As he rushed out, runes gathered in his hand, turning into a large ice blade that was about to distort the void. In an instant, it slashed towards Du Xiaofu. It was fierce and vicious, merciless and malicious. Ka. Under such an attack, wherever the ice saber passed, the ground of the square would be frozen until it cracked and turned into ice shards. An icy chi that made one's primordial spirit tremble permeated the void. This person was a peak primordial chaos martial venerable and was not far from becoming a nirvana martial venerable. Not many people present could compare to him. They were all trembling from the cold. Bing Xiao, the third brother of the Lushan 14 owls, cultivates a terrifying frost xian qi that can freeze xian qi and primordial spirit. Someone exclaimed and sucked in a breath of cold air for Du Xiaofu. They knew how powerful Bing Xiao was. He was an absolute killer whose name shook Wanzhou. Qila. The blade slashed down, cutting through the void. Ice runes filled the air. Under everyone's gaze, Du Xiaofu was directly cut into pieces by the energy ice saber. His body turned into ice shards, but then he disappeared into the void without any blood mist. It's an afterimage. Someone with good eyesight exclaimed in surprise. He could tell that the figure that was cut into pieces was just an afterimage. At that moment, Bing Zhao's expression suddenly changed. He seemed to have felt something and wanted to turn back. However, it was too late. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared behind him. Kacha. The void distorted. Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand and curled his palm into a claw. He grabbed Bing Zhao's neck in disbelief. With a crisp crack, blood spurted out. Bing Zhao's head and neck had been separated. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. His pupils constricted. Then, his body and head turned into a blood mist at the same time. The speed was too fast. Before anyone could react, Bing Xiao, who was a peak primordial chaos martial venerable, had been killed. The whole square was silent. Rows of mouths were agape in shock. A peak primordial chaos martial venerable was killed in an instant. The remaining members of the Lushan 14 Owls looked at each other in dismay. Then they were shocked. The cold eyes of the leader, who was in his 50s, suddenly twitched. At that moment, the Lushan 14 Owls realized that they had offended someone they should not have. This time, they had kicked a steel plate. Oh no! The leader, who was in his 50s, shouted. In an instant he came back to his senses. The seemingly young man in front of them was someone they could not afford to offend. To be able to kill Bing Xiao in an instant, he was at least in the domain realm. Even if all of them worked together, they would not be a match for him. Judging from his ferocious way of killing, he was definitely not someone to be trifled with. Now that they had offended him, they would definitely not have a good ending. Swoosh, swoosh, dozens of figures flew out. Their faces were filled with shock as they wanted to leave. They did not dare to stay any longer. In the face of absolute strength, they could only escape. Since you have offended me, you can all go to hell. Du Xiaofu's eyes were filled with coldness. Suddenly, a purple flame flashed across his eyes. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, the dozens of figures who had just leaped into the air stopped in the void. Their eyes were filled with shock as their bodies cracked. Their bodies cracked, and purple light overflowed from their bodies, emitting a dazzling light. Bang, 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 dozens of muffled sounds exploded in the void. The bodies of the Lushan 14 Owls exploded. Billowing purple flames gushed out from their bodies, burning the void. The purple runes were annihilated in the void like purple fireworks. However, they had taken the lives of the Lushan 14 Owls. Not even their bones were left. The Lushan 14 Owls, who were famous in Wanzhou, dozens of martial honorables, and a vicious person who was only a step away from the domain realm, were all killed in a clean manner. The way they were killed sent chills down the spines of the living beings around them. Gulp, gulp, after being stunned for a moment, the sound of people swallowing their saliva could be heard. In the square, the 300 to 400 figures were surging with auras like humans. They originally wanted to stand together with the Lushan 14 Owls, but at that moment, they were all trembling with fear. They were afraid that they would follow in the footsteps of the Lushan 14 Owls. Who is he? He doesn't seem very old. Is he a genius? Someone asked in a low voice. They were sizing up Du Xiaofu from afar, trying to guess his identity. Only those supreme geniuses could have such strength and cultivation at such a young age. Everyone from House Wei was equally shocked and agitated. Mr. Qiao's strength had once again exceeded their expectations. He was an out-and-out Heaven's Chosen. It was no wonder that he was so bold as to challenge all the Supremes of Heaven's Chosen in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. He had the capital to back up his confidence, and was also a ruthless killer. He was not to be trifled with. Wei Jiajia's red lips were also agape in shock. She had never thought that the person she had casually helped would be such a powerful person, such a genius. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon's roar rang out like thunder. The sound caused the small town to tremble, breaking the dead silence in the town square. Chapter 1894. Dozens of figures appeared in the sky outside the small town. The most eye-catching one was a 1,000-meter-long white flood dragon in the middle. It gave off a chilling aura as it flew through the air, half of its body hidden in the clouds. It was a shocking sight. On the head of the white flood dragon was a handsome middle-aged man in his 40s. He wore a loose robe and had shoulder-length black hair. A strange rune flickered on his forehead. His eyes were bright, proud, and profound. That's a frost flood dragon, a branch of the dragons. It can't be used as a mount. Could it be that the dragons are here? Those figures came with the huge flood dragon. Their auras were powerful, and their eyes shone with ferocious light. Most of them were beastmen, and they exuded a powerful pressure. The handsome middle-aged man standing on the head of the flood dragon made the hearts of those who looked at him tremble. "It's the dragons!" Someone confirmed that it was the dragon race that came, trembling in fear. That was a legendary powerful race. What are the dragons doing here in this small town? Many people were surprised. What could catch the eyes of the dragons in a small town like this? Those big factions and races had long since gone to fight for great opportunities and treasures. 2 Initial Ascension, 1 Sealed Domain. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly and narrowed his eyes. Most of those people were beastmen, and there were 2 Initial Ascension Beast Realm cultivators. The middle-aged man on the Frost Flood Dragon was a Sealed Domain Realm cultivator. He was not weak, and the remaining dozens were not ordinary either. Compared to such a group of experts, the Lushan 14 Owls was nothing. The dozens of figures shone brightly, like stars floating in the sky. Their auras suppressed the void. The people of the small town were terrified. None of them could afford to offend such experts. The dozens of people hovered in the void, sensing the bloody killing intent that had filled the small square. They only glanced at it indifferently, not paying it any attention. Everyone listen up. As long as someone finds out about the people from the desolate nation and reports it to the dragons, they will be able to choose any ancient cultivation technique, domain-level martial technique, or high-grade celestial weapon. A young woman in a red robe with a lithe figure walked forward and stood in the air. Her slender legs were half exposed, and her chest was slightly white. She was beautiful and alluring, but she also carried a kind of coldness. Her clear voice reverberated in every corner of the town. Whoever can provide information about the Demon King Du Xiaofu will be able to obtain a sacred artifact and an ancient inheritance from the dragons. If you're looking for me, you can't beat my price. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He did not expect that the first person he met in the Heavenly Devil battlefield would be someone who issued a bounty for him. The price was not low at all. It seemed like the dragons were really concerned about him. A trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. Du Xiaofu did not plan to be polite to the dragons. The dragons are issuing bounties everywhere. They want to deal with the desolate nation. Many of the dragons were killed by the desolate nation. Dragon 9, Dragon 8, and the others died in the hands of the Demon King Du Xiaofu. In the Divine Domain, Dragon 3 and the others also died in the hands of the Demon King Du Xiaofu. This kind of enmity cannot be resolved. It is said that the dragon's terrifying Dragon 2 has already entered and is looking for the Demon King Du Xiaofu everywhere. Everyone was secretly discussing and whispering. It turned out that the experts from the dragons were here to look for the people from the desolate nation. The beautiful young woman stood in the void, emitting a dazzling light. There was a mysterious and powerful aura circulating around her. It was the aura of the dragons. It was extraordinary and intimidating. The beautiful young woman's expression was calm. Her eyes flashed brilliantly, and there was an invisible power that gradually rose. It made people's souls tremble and their hearts palpitate, making them want to kneel down. But if anyone has information about the people from the desolate nation and does not tell us, then you will have to bear the consequences. As soon as she finished speaking, the beautiful young woman's gaze swept across the small town. The invisible power made the people below tremble. Some of the beasts immediately prostrated themselves and reverted to their original forms. This kind of power was too shocking. It made the small town silent. Everyone lowered their heads and did not dare to raise them. The dragon race sure is awe-inspiring. Suddenly, a voice reverberated in the empty space of the small town, causing the faces of the dozens of experts from the dragon tribe to change. On top of the Frost Jiao dragon's head, the handsome middle-aged man's eyes shot out a divine light. When the voice reached Du Xiaofu's ears, it also made Du Xiaofu look in the direction of the voice. The voice was very familiar to Du Xiaofu. It was too familiar. As Du Xiaofu looked in the direction of the voice, a familiar figure appeared in the void. It was a middle-aged man. His wretched face and eyes did not change much, but it did not make people feel uncomfortable. Instead, it had a natural charm. It's Brother Qing Chun. Joy flashed in Du Xiaofu's eyes as he smiled. The figure in front of him was none other than his elder brother, the child of the sacred array, Zhen Qingchun. Sacred array child Zhen Qingchun. On top of the Frost Jiao dragon, the handsome middle-aged man's robe swayed as his voice slowly sounded. It's the Desolate Nation's sacred array child Zhen Qingchun. He's a big shot in the Desolate Nation. It's rumored that the sacred array child Zhen Qingchun is the elder brother of the demon king Du Xiaofu. The people in the small town, who were originally trembling, were now in an uproar. Everyone knew that there would be a big show to watch. The Desolate Nation's sacred array child Zhen Qingchun had come. A big battle was inevitable. It's the Desolate Nation's sacred array child Zhen Qingchun. It's rumored that his attainments in the art of formations are terrifying. The six-wheel blood-killing array can kill everything. Wei Jiajia said. She looked at the figure in the void. Her eyes flickered with yearning. She cultivated both martial arts and talisman arts. As a talisman master, she had heard of the legend of the sacred array child Zhen Qingchun. In the void, Zhen Qingchun suddenly lowered his gaze and looked at Wei Jiajia. There was a flash of surprise in his eyes. Long Fun, you mixed blood dragons really don't want to give up. Zhen Qingchun raised his eyebrows. Then, he looked at the middle-aged man in the loose robes on the back of the ice dragon. His inverted triangular eyes were still as wretched as ever. Since you dared to come, don't leave. If you die, the Desolate Nation will be very lively. Longfen said. His eyes were cold. As his voice fell, his expression suddenly turned cold. His arms shook and a gushing aura burst out from his body. Roar, a terrifying aura spread out. There was a faint shadow of a crimson fire dragon lingering around his body. The surrounding living creatures held their breaths. They were shocked to find that the profound qi in their bodies was blocked by that terrifying aura. Their primordial spirits also seemed to be on fire. That's a true descendant of the dragons. He's a beast region expert. Someone exclaimed. A martial region expert of the dragons was terrifying. Chapter 1895. Awo. When Longfen unleashed his aura, the dozens of dragons around him released their terrifying auras at the same time. Some of them roared like thunder, and two of them had the most powerful auras. Zhen Qingchun only smiled faintly when he sensed the dozens of terrifying auras. He glanced at Longfen and the others with his inverted triangular eyes and said, "With just you guys? I'm afraid it's not enough. You're too weak. Listen to my orders. Kill Zhen Qingchun with all your might. Don't let him set up the formation." Longfen raised his gaze as his cold voice reverberated throughout the small town. It carried a terrifying killing intent like a dragon's roar. Zhen Qingchun was a master of formations. Once he set up a talisman formation, it would be difficult to deal with him. Boom! As Longfen's voice rang out, the entire space of the small town instantly tensed up and froze. The auras of the dozens of figures rose into the sky. Woo! In an instant, huge flood dragons and all kinds of ferocious beasts occupied the space. Winds rose and clouds surged. The earth trembled and roared like thunder. Waves of terrifying might and light soared into the sky. You have more people, but it's useless. Unfortunately, it won't be my turn to make a move. What a pity. Looking at those terrifying figures, Zhen Qingchun's face carried a smile that was not a smile. There was also a look of regret on his face. He did not have any intention of taking action. There's no need for Brother Qingchun to make a move with these small fries. A voice suddenly came from afar and echoed in the void. When the last word fell, 18 invisible sharp auras spread out and froze this part of the world. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of wind breaking resounded. A large group of rainbow figures broke through the air and appeared above the void like lightning. Boom! Boom! The space trembled invisibly. A total of 18 rays of light retracted as 18 men descended. 18 invisible energy fluctuations were like 18 javelins on the ground, giving off a sharp feeling. All 18 men gave off the feeling of a ferocious beast. The sharp aura that filled their bodies for no reason was accompanied by a bloody stench. It was impossible for such an aura to exist without experiencing bloody slaughter. It was enough to prove that these 18 men had been tempered by killing along the way. All eyes fell on the 18 young men, and their hair stood on end. 18 heavenly generals. On top of the enormous ice dragon head, when he saw the 18 tall and straight figures and felt the 18 terrifying auras, Long Fun's gaze fiercely trembled. Heavens, it's the desolate country's 18 heavenly guards. In the plaza below, Wei Jiajia's delicate face trembled. She had never seen those 18 men before, but she had heard countless legends about them. They were the strongest weapons of the world meeting, and their murderous reputation had long since shaken the 3 continents and Kyushu. None of you are idle. Du Xiaofu stood there indifferently. He raised his head and looked at the 18 men who had descended. A smile appeared on his face. After not seeing them for so long, the auras of these 18 fellows had become much stronger. 18 men were flying in the air. In the middle was a tall and slender man in a black robe. Under his bangs, his eyes were sharp. He was Yi Piaoling, the leader of the World Society's 18 heavenly guards. Kill! Yi Piaoling spoke. Her sharp eyes were filled with undisguised killing intent. She was cold and merciless. Kill! Beside Yi Piaoling, a beast-like man in a long robe summoned a battle spear and held it in his hand. A terrifying aura burst out from it. It was the savage battle spear, and it directly slashed towards the dragon race man. Kill, leave no one alive. One figure after another charged forward like lightning. Their killing intent was swift and fierce. Waves of aura shook the void. It was as if 18 bolts of lightning had swept into the dragon's formation and started a massacre. Not good, it's the 18 heavenly generals. Retreat! Long Fen shouted. The 18 heavenly generals' fierce reputation had long been known. They were 18 killing gods, each stronger than the last. At this moment, even as one of the dragon's elders, he was trembling in fear. However, it was too late for Long Fen to retreat. The 18 heavenly generals were so fierce that they had already charged forward. Oh, in an instant, some beasts were killed, and some dragons were directly shattered. Bastards, I'm not done with you. Long Fen was furious. His aura surged out, and flames seeped out of the void. In his hand, something was quietly crushed without leaving a trace. A cold sneer flashed across his eyes. Brr! The ice dragon under Long Fen's feet roared, shaking the void until it trembled. The cold air froze the void. Yi Piaoling's figure appeared. Faint black profound qi filled the air with runes, resisting the corrosion of the cold air. Her sword soared through the sky, piercing through the void, and directly slashed at the enormous ice dragon. Yi Piaoling, let me see if you're really as powerful as the rumors say. Long Fen shouted. His entire body was covered in flames, and a dragon's might spread out to protect his body. With a wave of his hand, he condensed a blazing fire dragon and blocked the sword light with a roar. However, the fire dragon only blocked it for an instant before it was shattered and annihilated by the sword light. The sword light pierced through the air and directly slashed at the ice dragon's head. A monstrous blood mist poured out. The huge dragon's head was shattered, and its beast soul was also shattered. Bastard! Long Fen's figure flew away from the top of his mount's head. His eyes glowed, and his killing intent surged. He watched as his mount was killed, but he didn't stop it. One could imagine how he felt. He no longer held back his sealed domain realm aura, and his dragon's might surged. Go all out. Yi Piaoling stepped into the air, holding the sword in her right hand and standing with her left hand behind her back. She was calm and fierce, and the invisible bloody aura spread out from her body. She was iron-blooded and cold, like a god of death. Woo! In an instant, a terrifying dragon's might spread out, and a dragon's roar filled the sky. Longfen turned into a huge fire dragon and swooped down from the void. His aura was monstrous, and he unleashed his strongest dragon's might to attack Yi Piaoling. Too strong. The creatures in the town were shocked. Such a powerful dragon was too terrifying. As expected of one of the supreme beast clans. Yi Piaoling didn't move, but faint black profound chi surged around her. The sword in her hand let out a sonorous sound of wind and thunder. A new aura spread out from her body, and a terrifying pressure filled the air. The fire dragon swooped down, and the huge dragon's eyes suddenly shrank. Longfen felt the aura on Yi Piaoling's body and revealed a shocked expression under the pressure. Oh no, he's reached the peak of the Nirvana realm. Longfen couldn't believe it. At this moment, he felt the aura of the peak of the Nirvana realm from Yi Piaoling's body. Yi Piaoling was probably not far from the Nirvana realm. Longfen was at the peak of the sealed domain realm. As an elder of the dragons and a descendant of the true dragon, he didn't care about cultivators at the greater domain realm. However, Yi Piaoling was a supreme Nirvana realm cultivator at the peak of the Nirvana realm. She was infamous. Go all out. The arrow was already knocked on the bow, and it had to be released. Longfen shouted, and the fire dragon burned. Runes soared into the sky, and the dragon's claws tore through the void and shook the world. At this point, Longfen felt fear. He wanted to go all out and stall for time while waiting for strong reinforcements. When the time came, he would be able to capture the 18 heavenly generals' guards and Jin Qingchun in one fell swoop. This would be a huge blow to the desolate country. Yi Piaoling attacked. The huge fire dragon swooped down. The figure seemed very small, but there was a light that shot into the sky like the sun. He swung the sword in his hand, and a sword light pierced through the void. The sword light was shocking and fierce. The dragon and the man fought. After one round, Longfen roared and screamed. One of his dragon claws was cut off, and dragon blood flowed. He was seriously injured. The fire dragon soared into the sky and erupted with dragon power. Longfen quickly retreated. Yi Piaoling was stronger than he had imagined. You can't escape. Yi Piaoling's thin lips parted slightly. His figure strangely appeared above Longfen's head. The faint black xian qi in his body covered the world, and a strong pressure confined the void. He waved his hand, and the sword swooped down and pierced through Longfen's head. Qi la! The sword sank between Longfen's eyebrows. The surrounding runes exploded in blazing flames, and the surrounding void cracked. You can't escape either. Don't even think about escaping. Longfen's ferocious head had a look of despair. The sword destroyed his dragon soul. His dragon pupils shrank, and he couldn't close his eyes. He died. Rumble. At the same time, the other two Beast Region cultivators were also killed by Qinguyu, Silver Fox, and the others. There was no suspense in this battle. No matter how the dozens of dragons roared and fought with their lives, or how they used their monstrous beast energy, they couldn't resist the slaughter of the 18 celestial generals. None of the dozens of dragons escaped. They were all killed, and their souls were destroyed. Kill them all. A man in a blue and white robe landed beside Yi Piaoling. He was tall and sturdy, like the incarnation of a ferocious beast. He was Qinguyu. Just now, the savage spear had directly pierced through the body of a Beast Region cultivator. He was even more ferocious than a ferocious beast. Whoosh whoosh, a group of young men landed beside Qinguyu. Waves of fierce and bloody aura surged out. Their eyes were sharp and fierce. They killed dozens of dragons without even blinking. Looking up at the 18 men, there seemed to be some kind of magic that made the blood in the bodies of the surrounding creatures tremble for no reason. Is this the power of the 18 celestial generals? They're too strong. As expected of the desolate country's weapon. You can see how strong the desolate country is just by looking at the 18 celestial generals. No wonder the desolate country dares to face the dragons. School of vertical and horizontal and legalism. Geniuses gather and supreme beings are everywhere. The 18 tall and fierce figures and their fierce auras shook the hearts of the people. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock as they looked at the 18 men. Is there anyone else coming? However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at the void before him. What a waste! What a waste! At least leave some beast souls for me. Zhen Qingchun looked at the bloody corpses around him and felt his heart ache. If the dragon's beast souls were refined by the 6 wheels blood killer ray, they could strengthen the 6 wheels blood killer ray. Soon after, Zhen Qingchun landed on the ground. He walked in front of Du Xiaofu in front of quite a number of astonished gazes from all around. His gaze swept over Du Xiaofu. After which, he sized up Wei Jiejia and said, "Little girl, are you a symbol master?" Chapter 1896. Wei Jiejia was already nervous enough when the legendary sacred array child Zhen Qingchun suddenly appeared beside her. Now that she was asked a question, she became even more excited. But after that, Wei Jiejia calmed his feelings and bowed before he said, "Senior, I mainly cultivate formations in the Tao of talismans and minor in alchemy." "Set up your strongest formation for me to see," said Zhen Qingchun. Wei Jiejia was stunned. The surrounding disciples of the Wei clan, including Old Master Wei, were also puzzled. But in front of such a legendary figure, they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. "Then I'll embarrass myself. Please advise me, senior." Wei Jiejia's hand seals were already forming. As a talisman master, it was a rare opportunity to face such a great formation master. Profound qi surged, and the power of the origin spirit surged. As Wei Jiejia's hand seals formed, the surrounding space suddenly surged and trembled slightly. Boom! In an instant, formation flags formed in Wei Jiejia's slender hands. Runes flickered, and light soared into the sky, shaking heaven and earth. Wei Jiejia's face suddenly turned pale. She was doing her best, gritting her teeth as she tried to form a 7-star per Mytha level formation. Dazzling formation flags rushed into the sky, about to form a formation amidst the wind and clouds. Not bad at all. Looking at the formation flags, a smile appeared on Zhen Qingchun's face. With a wave of his hand, runes shot into the sky and landed on the formation flags. They directly dissolved the formation flags, and they scattered in the sky like fireworks. With the formation flags dissolved, Wei Jiejia's pale face regained some color, but there was deep shock on her delicate face. The sacred array child dissolved her formation flags with just a wave of his hand. This level of attainment was not something she could compare to. "Little girl, what's your name?" Looking at Wei Jiejia, Zhen Qingchun carefully sized her up as if he had seen a treasure. "Junior is Wei Jiejia, from Shang Province's Qingyun Island," replied Wei Jiejia. "Are you willing to become my disciple and cultivate with me?" asked Zhen Qingchun. Wei Jiejia's origin spirit was exceptionally powerful, and she was also talented in formations. He wanted to take her in as his disciple. But when they heard Zhen Qingchun's words, the disciples of the Wei clan, Old Master Wei, and the others all trembled. They were so shocked that they couldn't recover. The sacred array child Zhen Qingchun, Desolate Country's Demon King, Du Xiaofu's elder brother. The Desolate Country's Demon King. Kyushu, and the Wei Country, the Demon King of the Desolate. Kyushu Clan. Jiejia greets Master. With trembling eyes, Wei Jiejia knelt down and respectfully kowtowed to Zhen Qingchun 3 times. How could she not be willing to accept such an array formation as a disciple? This was something that she could only wish for. "The heavens bless our Wei clan," Old Master Wei cried. This was the Wei clan's great fortune. From now on, the Wei clan might not reach the heavens in a single bound, but their status would rise with the tide. Even the Sa Meng Sword Sect, Hahuan School, Sun Moon Sect, Supporting Star Sect, and other first-rate forces in Shang Province all had close ties with the Desolate Country. Given Zhen Qingchun's status in the Desolate Nation and the fact that Wei Jiejia was his disciple, the Wei clan would have a powerful backer in the entire Shang Prefecture. How did the Wei clan produce Wei Jiejia? Our Gu clan also has an extraordinary talisman master. However, compared to the people from the Gu clan not far away, Third Elder Gu's face twitched when he saw that Wei Jejia from the Wei clan had become the disciple of the child of the sacred array, Zhen Qingchun. He hated that a member of the Gu clan had become the disciple of the child of the sacred array. Good, good, good. Zhen Qingchun laughed and called out 3 times. He immediately helped Wei Jejia up with a smile. Congratulations, Brother Qingchun. Yi Piaoling, Qian Guyu, and the others went up to congratulate him. The invisible smell of blood made Wei Jejia's delicate body tremble. The true experts of the Dragon Clan should be coming soon. Zhen Qingchun's expression became more serious as he looked toward the end of the void. The dragons have a true expert coming. Hearing this, Yi Piaoling, Qian Guyu, and Silver Fox's eyes rippled. They're already here. Zhen Qingchun said. Boom, boom. At that moment, the void in front of them trembled for no reason as if it had exploded. A hazy figure descended, bringing with it rolling clouds. A vast pressure descended at the same time, making people want to kneel down and kowtow. The beast souls of the beasts trembled for no reason and prostrated. The hazy figure appeared, becoming more and more dazzling. The light was as dazzling as the sun. A majestic old man appeared in the light. A terrifying pressure spread out like a peerless dragon, bringing with it an unparalleled dragon's might. Roar! In the depths of the void, a dragon's roar resounded. The terrifying pressure was released, making Zhen Qingchun, Qian Guyu, and the others tremble. This old man was too powerful. His body was wrapped in clouds and surrounded by runes. His aura was monstrous, as if a true dragon had been born. It made people's souls tremble. The old man's deep eyes were terrifying. It was as if 2 giant dragons were rising, about to soar for thousands of miles. This pair of eyes seemed to be able to make one's soul fly out of their body and scatter with a single glance. As the old man appeared, the void froze. The wind and clouds surged, and a dragon's roar resounded. The aura of a true dragon filled the air. The faint shadow of a dragon hovered in the void. Dazzling runes descended like a rain of light. It was like a miracle. Dragons soaring dragon. When they saw the majestic old man and felt the terrifying dragon's might, Qian Guyu, Silver Fox, Stone, Qi Guyu, and the others' expressions changed. This was a truly terrifying expert. They had seen him before. He was the ancestor of the dragons, the ancestor of the dragons. Soaring dragon. On the square, Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and raised his head slightly. His gaze fell on the old figure of the dragons that had suddenly appeared. How could Du Xiaofu be unfamiliar with that majestic old man? Dragons soaring dragon. Back in the divine domain, Li Chunfa, Gong Sunhua, and the others had used their Yuan spirit avatars to kill him. In the end, one of their Yuan spirit avatars was killed by him. Then, along with Li Chunfa and the others, they wanted to kill him. In the end, Old Lei and the others appeared. How dare you kill the disciples of the dragons? Today, this ancestor will turn you into ashes. Dragon! As soaring dragon appeared, his gaze swept across the corpses around him. He glared at Zhen Qingchun, Yi Piaoling, and the others. The dragon's shadow around him fluctuated, and the dragon's aura was terrifying. Set up the formation. Yi Piaoling shouted. Facing an expert like Soaring Dragon, they could only use their full strength. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to resist. Long Fun and this Soaring Dragon were not on the same level. There's no need for you to do anything. Someone will deal with this old man. Let's just watch the show. Zhen Qingchun stopped Yi Piaoling and the others. Facing Soaring Dragon, he didn't look serious at all. Instead, he was smiling. Hearing this, Yi Piaoling, Qian Guyu, and the others were surprised and puzzled. They quickly looked around. Zhen Qingchun's words naturally could not escape Long Teng's ears. He also secretly moved his eyes, sweeping the surroundings below with the corners of his eyes. No one can save you today. I will turn you into ashes. Sensing no powerful aura, Soaring Dragon instantly became furious. Killing intent filled the air, causing the void to tremble. Aren't you going to show yourself? I'm afraid we can't kill this old man. You'll have to do it yourself. Zhen Qingchun said. His expression was calm, as if he was confident. "Old man, when I destroyed your avatar, I told you to wash your neck clean. I'll definitely chop off your head and kick it like a ball. Today is the time." Just as Jun Qingchun finished speaking, a voice rumbled and resounded through the void. Swish, swish, everyone's eyes fell on Du Xiaofu. They could clearly feel that the person who spoke was the scarred man. He was the one who didn't take a super expert like Soaring Dragon seriously even when facing Soaring Dragon. Mr. Qiao, the people of House Wei were even more shocked. For a moment, they were confused and didn't know what was going on. Only Jun Qingchun, who was not far away, smiled. He knew what was going on. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Du Xiaofu stepped out and ascended into the air step by step. His body was wriggling, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Golden light overflowed from his back, and then it became dazzling. A pair of golden wings spread out, and his entire body exuded an indescribable pressure. His eyes were like lightning as he ascended into the void. Golden light burst out from his golden wings, and the golden talisman patterns made the void lose its color. In an instant, a terrifying pressure filled the sky, and the world was suppressed. "It's the aura of the golden-winged rock." The surrounding beasts were shocked. Some of them recognized the aura of the great golden-winged rocks. The pressure was even more powerful than that of the dragons. When the great golden-winged rocks appeared, Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, Qigu, Mu Ruobai, and the others' eyes trembled. "Greetings, President." The 18 celestial guards led by Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, and the others bowed respectfully. The 18 celestial guards took orders from the president, and they only listened to the president. When the great golden-winged rocks appeared, they already knew who that figure was. No wonder Brother Qingchun was so confident. It turned out that he had nothing to fear. What's going on? Old Master Wei, Wei Jiejie, and the other disciples of House Wei were completely shocked. Their mouths were opened so wide that a duck egg could be stuffed in. Just what was the identity of the man who had been following them for the past few days? Why were even the terrifying 18 celestial guards saluting him respectfully at this moment? President, could he be? Wei Jiejie seemed to have thought of something. Her delicate body suddenly quivered, and her eyes trembled fiercely. In the sky, the great golden-winged rocks spread open. The muscles on Du Xiaofu's face were changing, and the scars were disappearing. He gradually returned to his original appearance, revealing a resolute face. His eyes were like lightning, intimidating and sharp. "Du Xiaofu, you little bastard, you finally appeared." Dragon! When Du Xiaofu's figure was completely revealed, at this moment, a loud roar like a dragon's roar resounded from Long Teng's mouth. A sharp killing intent that caused one's heart to turn cold swept through the air as dragon patterns filled his eyes. Heavens, so he's the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Heavens, he's the Demon King Du Xiaofu. At this moment, the surroundings were in an uproar. That title was a contemporary legend. It's really him, he's the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Wei Jiejie's delicate body trembled, and her entire body quivered. The Demon King Du Xiaofu, that legendary man, had been by her side all these days. Recommended junior brother Feng Xiangyu's new book, Urban Superprodigal, was already on the shelves. After that, his silhouette trembled as the great rock flapped its wings, bringing with it a wave of golden light. Instead of retreating, it advanced, rushing towards the energy storm. When his figure came into contact with the white energy storm, the golden wings of the Dapeng exploded with terrifying power, causing a wave of fluctuation in the white energy storm. Long Teng's cold snort was emitted from within the white energy storm. A claw print stretched out from the void like a dragon's claw. Layers of the void under the claw distorted as it pressed down on Du Xiaofu. Ao! Du Xiaofu's fist was mixed with the roar of a dragon and the cry of an elephant as it ruthlessly blasted towards the claw. This was Du Xiaofu's tyrannical fist way. Du Xiaofu also did not hold back. He used one of his strongest attacks from the very beginning. Bang! A fist and a claw collided in the void, and a thunderous explosion of energy suddenly resounded. Broken runes and energy ripples quickly spread out, and the surrounding void was disintegrated by this kind of energy, causing turbulent waves to appear. The white clouds dispersed, revealing Long Ting's figure. He staggered a few steps back in the void. His shoulders shook as he waved his sleeves. Only then did he disperse the tyrannical energy. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu's body trembled slightly. The golden light behind him was resplendent. It was obvious that he had the upper hand. "Old man, you don't seem to have made any progress at all." Du Xiaofu smiled faintly with a hint of ridicule. Long Ting's strength was as he had expected. It was indeed incomparable to the Yin-Yang school's 7 stars break. Bastard. Listening to Du Xiaofu's words, Long Ting's gaze could not help but twitch fiercely. This was sprinkling salt on the wound. Back then, Long Ting had lost a primordial spirit clone in the divine realm. Under such heavy injuries, he had not recovered until now. If he did not have a great opportunity in the future, it would be impossible for him to make any progress. For a cultivator, this was undoubtedly similar to death. "Brat, you're still a little inexperienced after all." Long Ting sneered as he clenched his fists with all his strength. In the faint sound of a dragon's roar, his figure was like thunder as he fiercely smashed towards Du Xiaofu through the air. At this moment, Long Ting wanted to use his most powerful attack to crush the former. That brat's physical body was abnormal, his speed was also abnormal, and he even had several spiritual thunder in his body. He was too powerful and terrifying. However, Long Ting did not believe that Du Xiaofu could really contend with him now. Li Qinfa and Qin Tian's battle was probably because they were careless. And he would definitely not follow in their footsteps. He wanted to end the battle quickly and kill Du Xiaofu. Rumble, Long Ting's punch was powerful and simple. The space in front of the fist distorted into a concave arc, and the invisible space emitted a dull sound that resounded through the void. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked at the rapidly approaching figure in his eyes. The corner of his mouth slightly raised into a cold arc. His feet stepped on the waves of the free step, and the Dapeng golden wings flapped behind him. The strange changes of the free step and the speed of the Dapeng golden wings were superimposed, like adding wings to a tiger. It could be said that in terms of speed, Du Xiaofu activated the free step and the Dapeng golden wings. Among the cultivators of the same level, who could compare to him? Long Ting's punch hit Du Xiaofu like a cannonball, causing the void to explode. Runes surged, but Du Xiaofu's figure had already disappeared. "Old man, your speed isn't enough." At the same time, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in the void beside Long Ting. He didn't give Long Ting any time to react. The Dapeng golden wings on his back flapped, domineering and fierce. His right hand clenched into a fist, and with the roar of a dragon and the cry of an elephant, he punched at Long Ting again. This kind of attack was fast and ferocious. There was nothing fancy about it, only a terrifying surge of power. The void around the fist crumbled inch by inch, leaving behind a pitch-black vacuum. It was terrifying to the soul. Long Ting frowned inwardly when he sensed such a terrifying power. Long Ting was an ancestor-level figure, a master of the beast region. He had lived for a long time and had rich battle experience. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, he suddenly leaned to the side in disbelief. A surge of energy suddenly appeared around him, covering his body with a layer of dragon scale-like armor. It was as if it was real. Roar! At the same time, Long Ting sneered. He opened his fist into a palm, and a cloud of light erupted from his palm. It shook the void, and a terrifying vortex appeared. An enormous dragon wanted to break through the void, roaring endlessly. "Brat, you've already used this move. Have a taste of my dragon swallows of 10,000 miles." Long Ting's cold voice was like thunder. He sneered, and the dragon in his palm roared ferociously, fiercely colliding with Du Xiaofu's fist. Chapter 1898. Domineering Fist Wei was overbearing and fierce as it ruthlessly smashed into the former's palm. Boom! The two collided, but only a slight sound was emitted. The terrifying power on Du Xiaofu's fist was swallowed by the huge dragon illusion and disappeared. This kind of change also caused Du Xiaofu to reveal a surprised expression. "Brat, you are still too inexperienced." You are not enough to fight with this ancestor. Long Teng laughed coldly when he saw the surprised expression on Du Xiaofu's face. The devouring power in his palm became even more turbulent and stronger. Roar! Suddenly, Du Xiaofu let out a loud roar. The dragon's roar and elephant's cry was vast and mighty. The domineering roar was like thunder, causing the universe to rumble. The sound wave destroyed one's Yuan spirit and also destroyed the huge dragon illusion. It also caused Long Teng's eyes to become a little dull. At the same time, a cold smile appeared in Du Xiaofu's eyes. Profound energy surged within the divine watchtower, emitting a rumbling sound. An even stronger overbearing power charged out from his fist, after which it heavily smashed into Long Teng's palm, bringing with it a terrifying force that was like a wild tide. The surrounding space was filled with pitch-black cracks. Puff puff, Long Teng spat out a mouthful of blood. His dull eyes suddenly regained their focus. However, the tangible armor on his body was also cracking. His body was like a bird with broken wings as he ruthlessly smashed into the ground from the sky. Bang bang! Long Teng's body smashed into a mottled ancient rock wall. The ground cracked continuously, forming arm-sized cracks. Dragon blood flowed out from his palm. Clearly, it was caused by Du Xiaofu's punch just now. The dragon scale-like armor on his body was also disappearing. The surrounding living creatures all retreated. Some of the unlucky ones were crushed by the invisible energy that scattered. There was no way to reason with them. Good, very good. Ever since this ancestor stepped into the master region, no one has been able to put me in such a miserable state. You are the first. Long Teng stood up and wiped the few strands of blood on his beard. His expression had completely darkened. He sneered and shouted angrily. An increasingly dark and cold killing intent spread out from his body. Didn't I destroy one of your clones last time? Du Xiaofu smiled faintly, unconcerned. I'm not done with you, you little bastard. Long Teng was furious. This was like rubbing salt on his wound. His figure rushed out, and light erupted. He transformed into a huge white cloud dragon. The dragon claws waved, and the dragon might was unparalleled. Dragon breath rolled out. Ow! The dragon's roar shook the heavens and the earth. The enormous dragon's body swooped down from the sea of clouds with its huge tail in the air. It raised its head and opened its ferocious mouth. The dragon's eyes were as bright as the Milky Way. Its dragon claws tore through the void and covered a large area, grabbing towards Du Xiaofu. Transforming into a dragon's body was Long Teng's strongest state. Long Teng was an ancestor of dragons and a main region expert. His reputation was definitely not just for show. Previously, when Du Xiaofu had killed his doppelganger, it was also because his doppelganger had been greatly suppressed in the divine domain. It wasn't his original strength. Boom! It was also at this moment that the void exploded. Golden light shone brightly, and dazzling runes flowed. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings and soared into the sky. His aura suddenly surged, and he was like a god standing tall. A terrifying pressure spread out, making people want to kneel down and kowtow. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like a real rock that had appeared in the world. It was terrifying. Purple gold runes shone in his eyes, and it was as if there was a golden-winged rock above him. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, stars rotated, and purple flames surged. At this moment, these pairs of eyes were reflecting a shocking phenomenon. Boom! Facing the huge dragon, Du Xiaofu didn't retreat at all. He shook his arm, and the golden wings on his back flapped. He directly slapped out a palm. Light spread out from the palm. It was resplendent and dazzling. Runes flickered, and it quietly contained a destructive fluctuation that made people's hearts tremble. A diagram of the 8 trigrams covered Du Xiaofu's palm. Waves surged, and runes intertwined to form a palm. It was filled with destructive power, and it didn't stop at all as it collided with the huge dragon. The palm collided head-on with the huge dragon. In an instant, the entire void trembled. Crack crack. The void was chaotic, and all kinds of dazzling runes drowned out everything. Space directly cracked, and a large number of pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. It was like a black hole that swallowed everything. Phenomena filled the sky. Dragon roared, and the space became chaotic. Energy storms swept out in all directions. This scene caused the gazes below to be stupefied. Their hearts palpitated as their expressions changed from shock. They didn't dare to imagine a battle like this. The huge dragon's body retreated. Its huge head was lifted up by the spatial waves. The dragon's body twisted, and a large mouthful of dragon blood spurted out as it roared. Oh my God! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of divine might was this? He had heavily injured Long Teng's main body with a single palm strike. Just how terrifying was the power contained in the body that seemed so small compared to the huge dragon to be able to create such a shocking scene? The 18 celestial guards raised their heads and looked at the void. Their eyes were full of brilliance. Chi! When Long Teng's body was forced back, Du Xiaofu's mouth once again curled into a faint sneer. In an instant, there were arcs of lightning that were difficult to detect that swept out from the void. Du Xiaofu's figure also disappeared in an instant. Chi-la-la! Arcs of lightning filled the air. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the surrounding void. A terrifying destructive aura swept out. When Du Xiaofu's figure appeared again, he was already above Long Teng's ferocious head. At this moment, Long Teng seemed to have felt something. His dragon pupils shrank, and for no reason, a chill climbed up his dragon soul. His huge body quickly retreated. But it was too late. The golden wings behind Du Xiaofu's back shone with golden light, shaking the void and imprisoning it. Indestructible! You've broken through to the indestructible realm. Long Teng discovered that the aura that imprisoned the void had reached the indestructible realm. The kid in front of him had already reached the indestructible realm in this short period of time. When he first heard the name Du Xiaofu, he was just an ant. Long Teng didn't even pay attention to him. It wasn't until Long 8, Long 7, and the others were killed one after another that Long Teng truly noticed Du Xiaofu. In the space of the divine realm, Long Teng truly began to pay attention and wanted to get rid of him. But at that time, Long Teng still didn't really take it to heart. It was just that the kid was lucky time and time again, and someone saved him. But at this moment, feeling the indestructible cultivation aura on Du Xiaofu's body, the shock in Long Teng's heart was indescribable. The human that he had regarded as an ant had already reached the indestructible realm in this short period of time. A Nirvana Grand Supreme was equivalent to completely surpassing him. Not good. Long Teng was terrified. He was inexplicably terrified. In an instant, he threw out all his trump cards without holding back. He erupted with all his strength and desperately retreated. Ao 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 ao, dragon roars were endless. Giant dragon shadows rose up one after another. Dragon might rolled and shattered the void. Chapter 1899. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the void. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings and soared into the sky. Silver gold electric arcs intertwined in his hands, flashing resplendently. Accompanied by the starlight, they formed a silver-gold starlight spear in front of him. This silver-gold starlight spear was formed by several types of spiritual thunder and lightning martial veins in Du Xiaofu's body. The void suddenly rumbled and trembled. A supreme pressure descended, thunder and lightning intertwined. Swish! This spear pierced through the void. Wherever it passed, a pitch-black spatial crack hung in the sky, destroying everything. The giant dragon shadows shattered inch by inch. In the end, the silver-gold starlight spear swept into Long Teng's head like a resplendent thunderbolt. The spear had no head, causing the energy of heaven and earth to become chaotic. The silver-gold starlight spear pierced through Long Teng's head, shocking the surrounding creatures who were already trembling in fear. Hiff! Long Teng spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His huge dragon body fell at the same time. A resplendent white light shot out from between his eyebrows, piercing through the void and escaping rapidly. Rumble, thunder and lightning intertwined in the void. Silver-gold arcs of starlight quietly filled the void and turned into a huge lightning tree. It was suffused with a soul-sucking aura and confined the bright white light that was trying to escape within the roots of the lightning tree. Roar! The dragon's roar was deafening. The resplendent white light faded, and a crystal-clear white cloud dragon appeared. Its eyes were filled with fear and despair. That was Long Teng's dragon soul primordial spirit. However, at this moment, it was bound by the lightning tree roots and was naturally suppressed. It could no longer escape. The lightning tree turned into a resplendent electric arc and swept back to between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows, disappearing. Bang, bang, bang. The huge dragon corpse fell heavily on the ground, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. The ground of the small town cracked, and the mountains outside the town collapsed. It was frightening. Gugu, looking at the huge dragon corpse on the ground, the surrounding creatures raised their heads and looked at the man in the void. He had a pair of wings on his back and a golden light rushed into the sky. He was a god, and also the demon king. Gugu, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, all of them trembling in fear. The Wei clan disciples were all flabbergasted. How could they have imagined that the Mr. Qiao, who had been by their side for the past few days, was actually the great rock emperor of the desolate country? Witnessing his terrifying strength with their own eyes was even more shocking. There had been some House Wei disciples who felt that his bold declaration of sweeping through all the supreme geniuses of the heavenly devil battlefield had been a little too boastful. But now they were speechless. Demon King Du Xiaofu had already swept through his peers in this world. Today, even an old ancestor of the dragon race was killed. How terrifying! This guy, Zhen at this moment, Long Teng's Long's dragon body dragon. Originally, Zhen Qingchun was confident that Du Xiaofu would definitely be able to withstand Long Teng. However, he did not expect Du Xiaofu's strength to actually reach such a level and easily kill Long Teng. Boom! Du Xiaofu appeared on top of Long Teng's dragon corpse. A vast golden light swept out from his palm and enveloped the dragon corpse. Then, with a burst of light, the huge dragon corpse gradually shrank to a length of several zhang. Dragon scales filled the air as Du Xiaofu put it into his Qiankuan pouch. I'm going to seclude myself here for a few days. Du Xiaofu retracted his golden peng wings and landed beside Zhen Qingchun and the 18 celestial guards. He was going to seclude himself for a few days. Du Xiaofu was not afraid of the dragons in the heavenly devil battlefield. It would be better if the school of vertical and horizontal and legalism did not come. If they did, he would be more than happy to oblige. Alright, I'll keep an eye on things for you. Don't worry about anything else. I'll tell you in detail after you come out of seclusion. Zhen Qingchun nodded. He knew that Du Xiaofu had just bound Long Teng's dragon soul origin spirit. He probably needed time to refine it. That would bring him great benefits. A while later, the bones of the several dozen dragons were unceremoniously collected by the 18 celestial guards into their Qiankuan pouches. Much of the serpent dragon and beast meat was directly roasted by Zhen Qingchun, Stone, Shigeyu, and the others. They ate heartily. Many of the spectating creatures in the distance felt their hairs stand on end, especially the beasts. The people of the desolate country are just as savage as the demon king Du Xiaofu. Some of the beasts did not dare to stay for long. They were afraid that the terrifying 18 celestial guards would want to eat them alive. Du Xiaofu sat with his legs crossed in the desolate ancient space. The silvernet soul-devouring thunder in his soul had devoured and refined Long Teng's dragon soul origin spirit. He circulated the mysterious incomplete cultivation method, working together to refine Long Teng's dragon soul origin spirit into his own pure soul. Terrifying waves of soul energy surged through his mud pill palace. Long Teng was one of the ancestors of the dragons. His dragon soul origin spirit was extremely powerful. Although Du Xiaofu had removed the impurities and retained the essence, he had only obtained 10 or 20% of the original soul energy. Being able to kill Long Teng, how could he not be able to deal with Long Teng's dragon corpse? What's more, Du Xiaofu wasn't trying to destroy the dragon scales. Instead, he was trying to temper Long Teng's physical body to become even more solid. On the contrary, he couldn't destroy the dragon scales. This was the puppet's final line of defense. In the midst of the raging flames, the dragon scales were unceasingly twitching. As time slowly passed, on Long Teng's dragon corpse, those layers of dragon scales unceasingly overflowed with traces of blood, before finally dissipating into white mist due to the high temperature. All of this seemed extremely cruel and bloody. Fortunately, Long Teng was already dead and didn't have any consciousness. Otherwise, this would have been the most miserable torture. Du Xiaofu didn't feel any cruelty or bloodiness. This Long Teng wanted to kill him time and time again, and the dragons intercepted him several times on the way. How could he be polite now? Focusing all his attention on controlling the flames in the cauldron, Du Xiaofu didn't dare to show any carelessness. If the flames in the cauldron were too great, they would be enough to burn Long Teng's corpse to ashes. If the flames were too small, the temperature would not be enough, and the impurities in Long Teng's corpse would not be refined, which would fail to meet the requirements for refining a puppet. However, in general, Long Teng was only left with his corpse. Compared to refining a living puppet, it was much easier. Under Du Xiaofu's refinement, the impurities in the dragon corpse were gradually refined. The dragon scales glowed, and mist filled the surroundings. The crystalline dragon tendons, bones, and flesh were filled with inscriptions that radiated with light. At a glance, it seemed to possess a shocking amount of power. The body of a Lord Domain expert was definitely terrifying in the first place. After being refined, it had reached a whole new level. Du Xiaofu consumed a lot of energy through such a refinement. His face was rather pale, and his forehead was covered in sweat. What came next was the second step, which required refining a large amount of puppet materials. The time in the desolate country was very loose, while the time in the small town seemed rather slow. With that great battle, the descent of the 18 heavenly generals and the child of the sacred array, the cowardly creatures had already left the town, afraid of provoking some trouble. They were also afraid of the dragons coming for revenge, which would cause them to be affected. Some of the bolder ones stayed in the vicinity, watching from afar, thinking that they might be able to obtain some benefits. If the dragons came for revenge, they would be able to watch the show. The treasure has chosen you, so it shouldn't be harmful to you. Try communicating with your soul. Once it truly recognizes you as its master, it will be a great opportunity for you. In a simple courtyard, Zhen Qingchun said to Wei Jiejia, who was sitting cross-legged with her eyes closed. He guided her to communicate with the extraordinary sword in her Naiwen palace. He was becoming more and more satisfied with this disciple of his. Secret puppet technique: condense. Condense. At a certain time, Du Xiaofu's eyes shone brightly in the desolate ancient space. White light rippled all over his body, and the huge spiritual furnace and talisman cauldron transformed into a boiling liquid, pouring onto the dragon corpse like a flood. Hiss, hiss, the boiling liquid poured onto the dragon corpse, producing sizzling sounds. Inscriptions pulsed and shone resplendently. The white dragon corpse also began to dark green. The layers of scales shone with an icy green metallic luster. It was chilling and terrifying. Chapter 1900. Handprints gathered in Du Xiaofu's hands at the same time, and streaks of strange light transformed into mysterious runes. The light from these runes fell on the dragon corpse, causing its originally tightly shut dragon eyes to suddenly open. The dragon corpse's originally lifeless and empty dragon eyes, which were almost dead, began to strangely and slowly emit an ice-cold and pale white gaze. It gave one an ice-cold chill, causing one's hair to stand on end when one looked at it. Chi! Suddenly, when Du Xiaofu's last handprint was formed, a brilliant stream of light shot into the dragon corpse's brow from between his brows. The dragon corpse, which had long since lost its vitality, suddenly opened its mouth and roared. A strange vitality emanated from its body, and a terrifying pressure swept through the ancient space, shaking the void and causing lightning to flash and thunder to roll. The giant dragon traversed the ancient space, and had already turned into a cold and dark green color. Du Xiaofu sized up the dragon-bodied puppet before him. It was slightly weaker than Long Teng from before, but in terms of defense, it was definitely a level higher. If it's refined into a living puppet, it should be much stronger. Du Xiaofu muttered. A corpse puppet could not be compared to a living puppet. If he had not killed Long Ting back then and directly refined him into a puppet, its power would definitely be stronger, but the power of his own primordial spirit would not have increased. But no matter what, this dragon-bodied puppet had been successfully refined, and this was enough for Du Xiaofu to rejoice in his heart. You'll be called Long Ming from now on, right? Yes. Du Xiaofu looked at the puppet before him, which still carried a terrifying dragon's might. A moment later, in the ancient courtyard of the small town. Your father, Little Shuang, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, and the others have all come in. The dragons, school of vertical and horizontal, and legalism have been looking for trouble, but they can't gain any advantage at all. If it weren't for the fact that many of their old fellows have entered the heavenly devil battlefield, I'm afraid they could only run away with their tails between their legs. Zhen Qingchun smiled and informed Du Xiaofu about the current situation in the heavenly devil battlefield. The school of vertical and horizontal, the legalism, and the dragons had lost almost all of their supreme geniuses in the divine domain. This time, it was only because many old fellows had entered the heavenly devil battlefield that they dared to continue causing trouble for the desolate nation. Otherwise, they would not be a match for the current desolate nation. However, the golden-winged rocks, the school of agriculture, the school of yin-yang, and the school of Moism are all helping. Legalism won't be able to gain any advantage at all. Zhen Qingchun had a smile on his face. He, the 18 heavenly generals, Du Yunlong, Mo Tianxiao, and the others were searching for dragons to kill. The tables had already turned. After hearing about the desolate country's recent situation, Du Xiaofu felt relieved and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Has Senior Lei entered the heavenly devil battlefield? Du Xiaofu asked. His purple robes covered his face, and his aura was restrained. His expression was resolute, and his eyes were sharp. If he did not make a move, no one would know that this was a dormant golden-winged rock, a terrifying demon king. Senior Lei seems to be under some kind of restriction. He is currently unable to enter the heavenly devil battlefield. Zhen Qingchun said to Du Xiaofu, the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, the legalism, and the others are all searching for you. Your younger sister, Xiaojing, has also entered the heavenly devil battlefield. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly with a calm expression. It was not strange for the dragons and the others to search for him. It was also within his expectations that his younger sister, Xiaojing, would be in the heavenly devil battlefield. Is there any news of little Xingxing, Du Xiaoyao, little Qin, and the little tiger? Du Xiaofu asked. Not yet, but perhaps little Xingxing, Du Xiaoyao, and the others have already entered. It's just that we haven't received any news yet. Zhen Qingchun looked at Du Xiaofu. His expression changed slightly, and he said, however, I recently received news that the famed clan is looking for trouble with Dongli Qingqing. Du Xiaoman, Du Yunlong, and Little Shuang have already gone to help. The 18 celestial generals and I were also planning to go and help. We accidentally heard that the dragons were here, so we came over. I didn't expect you to be here as well. The famed clan. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered when he heard that. He immediately asked, where are they now? According to the news, Dongli Qingqing has been fleeing. She seems to be heading in the direction of the Heavenly Yu Mountain, Zhen Qingchun said. The Heavenly Yu Mountain? Is there really such a place? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly. He had heard Wei Jiejia mention this place a few days ago. It was said that the Heavenly Yu Mountain was one of the few mysterious places in the heavenly devil battlefield. It was rumored that there were towering trees everywhere, countless spiritual herbs, and spiritual birds and beasts. It had never been tainted by evil demons. It was a pity that the Heavenly Yu Mountain was very mysterious. Not only could it not be found, but it was also impossible for living beings to set foot in it. It's said that the place is very mysterious. It's usually impossible to find it. However, there have been strange phenomena in the sky recently. An expert has deduced the direction of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. It's in the southeast of the heavenly devil battlefield. According to the news we received, Dongli Qingqing is also heading in the direction of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. She might also want to enter the Heavenly Yu Mountain, Zhen Qingchun said. I'll go first. Du Xiaofu's gaze turned cold. The fact that the famous families were looking for trouble with Dongli Qingqing had him worried. Based on Dongli Qingqing's strength, she might not be able to defend against the famous families. Old Lei had not entered the Heavenly Devil battlefield, and Dongli Qingqing's master could not enter either. She was in a very dangerous situation right now. All right, the 18 heavenly generals and I will be there soon. Now that the Heavenly U Mountain has appeared, I'm sure other powers should be rushing over as well. There should be people from the dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal. Zhen Qingchun said. Whoosh! Du Xiaofu's feet shone with a golden light as he darted into the distance. The Heavenly Devil battlefield was vast and boundless. Screech! In the vast void, a large patch of black clouds appeared all of a sudden, letting out an ear-piercing screech. A gigantic black beast swooped down from the front of its chest. Its wings were eerie, as though they were made of metal. Bringing with it a bloodthirsty aura, it flapped its wings and distorted the void, pouncing towards Du Xiaofu, who was rushing over. This was a demonic beast. Its strength was extremely strong, comparable to that of a domain state being. It was extremely frightening. Within the Heavenly Devil battlefield, many living beings had been killed recently. Du Xiaofu paused for a moment as he raised his head to look at the ferocious beast. He was unmoved. A golden light gushed out from his body as a domineering aura swept out, causing the void around him to distort silently. This was the frightening aura brought about by Du Xiaofu's undying and indestructible cultivation state. To be able to distort the void around him, a power like this was unimaginable for those with insufficient cultivation states. The demonic beast that was swooping down suddenly shuddered as it felt an instinctive sense of fear. However, its gigantic body was bound as well. It was as though it had fallen into a swamp, unable to break free from the void. Xing! Du Xiaofu did not stand on ceremony. Since this beast had already been demonized, it would be a disaster if it was left alive. Stretching out his hand, purple flames rolled out and incinerated the beast in the void, turning it into smoke. After killing that demonic beast, Du Xiaofu continued on his journey towards the rumored Heavenly U Mountain. Roar! A few hours later, on top of a gigantic mountain peak, a gigantic black tiger that was 1,000 feet tall roared. Its entire body was covered in thick black fur, and it was extremely ferocious. The tiger's eyes were filled with an unparalleled rapport as it opened its mouth. Accompanied by a terrifying roar, it charged towards Du Xiaofu, who was passing by. Chapter 1901. Evil Beast. Du Xiaofu swooped down as a stalk of dark insight grass appeared in the air, purifying the evil spirit and dispersing the black energy. A finger imprint shot out like lightning, directly piercing through the forehead of the vicious tiger, killing it instantly. There were many such demonic beasts in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Flying in the air was not necessarily safer. The demonic beasts that could attack in the air were usually more powerful. However, with Du Xiaofu's strength, these demonic beasts could not stop him. A mottled land with broken walls and dilapidated buildings was in a mess. There were traces of a fierce battle everywhere, filled with demonic aura. There was still demonic qi in the surroundings that had not completely dissipated, and there were still corpses of living beings. There was blood that had not dried up and was emitting a bloody light. It was the blood of a powerhouse. That was why it was glowing. There was a fierce battle here. Du Xiaofu felt the auras of many experts on the battlefield. They were from the Beast Clan, the Human Clan, the Evil Devil Clan, and the Demonic Beast Clan. Their strength was extraordinary, and many of them were at the domain realm. It was not hard to imagine that a fierce battle had taken place here. It was very fierce and had attracted many powerhouses. Even the mountains in the surroundings had been swept away, leaving only half of them. It was a mess. There are also powerful talisman masters. Du Xiaofu also found traces of talisman arrays. They were very impressive, and the person who set them up was not weak. Woo-woo. Suddenly, there was a woo-woo sound that seemed to come from the underworld. There are demons. Du Xiaofu was startled and quickly rushed out. In a messy ancient land, black fog surged all around. The woo-woo sound was like the wailing of ghosts and gods. There were at least 100 ferocious energy bodies surrounding a dozen humans of all ages. Bang bang bang, the battle was fierce. The strongest among these dozen humans was only at the venerable realm. The demons were very strong, and as a whole were several times stronger. These human cultivators were no match for them at all. A dozen of them had already been affected and turned into walking corpses. They were being controlled by the demons to counterattack and kill the dozen humans. The situation was very dangerous. The dozen humans were no match for them at all. My life ends here. There were some who felt despair. Their eyes revealed fear as they entered a desperate situation. They were powerless to break out of the encirclement. Whoosh whoosh, suddenly, a stalk of grass appeared. Its spiritual leaves were long and slender, as if it was real. Mysterious symbols flickered about. As the stalk of grass flew out, a powerful pressure descended from the sky, causing the eyes of the ferocious evil spirits to tremble. This stalk of grass seemed to be able to suppress all evil. As soon as this stalk of grass appeared, countless spirit leaves shot out like waterfalls, piercing through space and eliminating the hundreds of evil spirits around it. Woo-woo, demonic radiance overflowed in all directions, erupting with terrifying tacit understanding. They wanted to struggle free from the power of that stalk of grass, but in the end, they couldn't escape and were all killed. The dozen or so old and young people were shocked. The other party's strength was too terrifying. Thank you for saving me, sir. I'm extremely grateful. I'm willing to do anything for you. An elder led everyone to kneel down to express his gratitude. He was also worried that Du Xiaofu would attack them. After all, this was the heaven demon battlefield, so anything could happen. Get up. Tell me what happened here. Du Xiaofu waved his hand and looked around. This was the first time he had encountered these evil spirits in the heaven demon battlefield. They were similar to the evil spirits in Kyushu's sealed ancient land. They were extremely difficult to deal with, but with extreme yang and special techniques, they could suppress and restrain each other. The dark seeker grass was their nemesis. Seeing that the other party's young expert didn't seem to have any intention of making things difficult for them, the dozen or so people got up and immediately told Du Xiaofu everything they knew. It turned out that they had been here for a long time, but they didn't dare to approach from afar. An ancient expert's mansion had appeared here, and evil spirits were densely packed. It had also attracted experts from all sides to fight over it. The battle was very intense, and they didn't dare to approach with their strength. Only after the experts from all sides had left did they dare to approach. They wanted to try their luck and perhaps obtain something. However, they didn't expect their luck to be so bad. There were still some scattered evil spirits hidden here. Although these evil spirits weren't very strong, they were much stronger than them. They couldn't resist. At the critical moment, if Du Xiaofu hadn't suddenly appeared to help them, they would have been in deep trouble. Many experts appeared. There were also many experts from the older generation who participated. There were also experts from the beast race. However, in the end, it seemed that an expert from the beast race called Domain Lord Zetian took away the ancient inheritance. Those experts all went to chase after him. A middle-aged man who was covered in blood and was heavily injured said to Du Xiaofu, "Domain Lord Zetian, can you tell me more in detail?" Hearing this, Du Xiaofu's expression suddenly froze. Domain Lord Zetian, it seemed a bit like the name of his martial uncle, Purple Sky Venerable. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but suspect that this was the case. Domain Lord Zetian's original form is a purple sky martin. It's said that he's from the 7-star hall in the central continent. The middle-aged man thought for a moment and said to Du Xiaofu, "Which direction did they go in?" Before the middle-aged man finished speaking, Du Xiaofu's expression suddenly changed. The original form of a purple sky martin was from the 7-star hall. Who else could it be other than his martial uncle, Purple Sky Venerable? They went in that direction. I'm afraid it's been 4 hours. The middle-aged man replied with a trembling voice. He could feel the sudden violent fluctuation of aura from Du Xiaofu's body and was trembling. Whoosh! Du Xiaofu leaped into the sky and quickly left in the direction that the middle-aged man had pointed out. It was the same direction as the Heavenly Yu Mountain. His martial uncle had obtained the ancient inheritance and was being chased by many experts and forces. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but be worried. He had to go and help him. Sixth martial uncle, hang in there for a while. I'm coming. Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. The whereabouts of his martial uncles were unknown. Some of his martial uncles had fallen. Only his second martial uncle and sixth martial uncle were left outside. He couldn't let any more accidents happen. Otherwise, how could he face his master in the future? The vast mountains were incomparably vast. There were waterfalls in the mountain streams that poured down like the Milky Way. The mountains were majestic and lofty. The terrain was similar. Once one went deeper, they might even get lost in it. Du Xiaofu had encountered many attacks from demonic beasts and evil spirits along the way. However, they were all resolved with a wave of his hand. It was obvious that this place was gradually approaching the central region of the heavenly devil battlefield. It was no longer the border. It was getting more and more dangerous. There's an aura. Probing with his mind, Du Xiaofu felt the aura of living beings. Many people had appeared here before. Du Xiaofu approached. There was a huge mountain there. It was the entrance to the majestic mountain range. Human, stop right there. However, before Du Xiaofu approached, there was a low shout that sounded like muffled thunder. Beside the majestic mountain, there were two huge mountains that suddenly moved as if they were alive. Chapter 1902. The mountain peaks trembled as two dazzling beams of light shot out from each of them. They were actually two pairs of gigantic ferocious eyes. The two mountain peaks were actually two gigantic demonic beasts. One was a coiling python, spitting out a red tongue. The other was a gigantic lion, standing tall like a mountain. Its ferocious aura shook one's soul. The two demonic beasts looked down at Du Xiaofu, their eyes cold and intimidating. This place doesn't belong to you, right? I'm going to look for someone. Du Xiaofu looked at the giant python and lion. They were both famous demonic beasts on the heavenly beast roll. They were at the peak of the revered Nirvana realm and were considered overlords in the outside world. This place is no longer a place you can set foot in. Get out of here or I'll kill you. The lion's roar was deafening as a terrifying aura spread out. Why bother talking so much to this human? He'll be just nice to fill the gaps between my teeth. The giant python's eyes were blood red, as terrifying as bloody holes. Its ferocious mouth swept out like a long whip, biting at Du Xiaofu with lightning speed. It wanted to swallow Du Xiaofu in one bite, completely ignoring Du Xiaofu. Chi la! The speed was too fast. A huge rock flew out in front of Du Xiaofu like an impact cannon and directly flew into the giant python's mouth. The terrifying shock wave shattered its fangs and blood flowed out. Its ferocious mouth was almost torn into 8 pieces. At the same time, Du Xiaofu appeared behind the giant python. He reached out with one hand and twisted the void. A spatial claw grabbed the giant python's tail and then like a snake, he swung the giant python's huge body into the air and threw it out ruthlessly. It crashed into a nearby mountain peak like a meteor. Rumble! The mountain peak collapsed and the earth shook. The giant python's head and body turned into meat paste one after another. It didn't even know how it died. This speed was too fast. When the lion reacted, it was already shocked. Its strength was not stronger than the giant python, so it didn't dare to attack. However, Du Xiaofu didn't stop. He swung the broken giant python's body again and whipped it onto the lion's back like a rope. Roar! The giant python's body was completely shattered, and the vicious lion's huge body was also directly sent flying. It miserably howled, and its flesh was cracked. It was dripping with blood, and several mountain peaks were destroyed. It was at its last gasp. Du Xiaofu's silhouette left without lingering. Within the mountain range and deep caves, auras surged violently. There were unknown towering trees that towered into the heavens, but they were all already dried up, without any signs of life. There were tree vines with a diameter of 1 zhang that wound around the mountain stream and climbed up the rocks, as vigorous as a horned dragon. At this moment, the vast mountain cave was surrounded by over 100 figures. Talisman markings suffused and dazzling like stars, and their auras surged and warped space. Domain Lord Zetian, you won't be able to escape. Hand over that strand of Saint Will, and we won't take that inheritance. A majestic old man with deep eyes said, Come and get it if you can. In the middle of the mountain cave, there was an old man in his 50s. His purple-patterned robe was stained with dried blood, and his long purple hair fluttered slightly. He looked at the hundreds of figures around him with blood-red eyes. Although this old man looked like he was in his 50s, his facial features were like a sculpture. When he was young, he must have been extremely handsome. Even though he was deeply besieged at this time, his temperament was extraordinary, and he exuded the air of a noble king. This person was Lord Zetian, who had already stepped into the domain realm. His title was also known as Domain Lord Zetian. Not long ago, he had obtained an ancient inheritance and was pursued by many experts. Domain Lord Zetian, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Although you have some relations with the barren country, you have to think carefully. Not everyone wants to avoid the barren country. A slender middle-aged man with a fair complexion looked at Domain Lord Zetian, and his aura was extremely strong. The Heaven Serpent clan, the Demon Vulture clan, the Red Fire Demonic Lion clan. There are quite a few of you. Looking at the figures around him, Domain Lord Zetian recognized many of them. They were all from the big clans of the demon realm. Although they were not as powerful as the golden-winged giant rocks, dragons, and phoenixes, they were once famous in the ancient times. They had a strong foundation, and even the dragons had to give them some face. Amitabha. Someone chanted Buddha's name. His body was surrounded by golden light, and he wore a shabby kasaya. He looked like a monk, but he had long black hair. He looked middle-aged, but his face was quite handsome. He looked at Domain Lord Zetian and said, Domain Lord Zetian, that holy thought is not something you can possess with your strength. Hand it over. Why are you so stubborn? As the man finished speaking, several people behind him had fierce auras, and their eyes were fierce. They were not kind people. There are quite a lot of people. If I manage to escape today, I will have a good chat with you one by one. Looking at the long-haired monk and the others, Domain Lord Zetian's eyes were red, and there was a surge of coldness in them. Why are you talking so much? Let's fight first. Behind the long-haired monk, several cultivators of the domain realm with fierce auras looked greedy. It was a holy thought left behind by an ancient expert. Such an opportunity was too great. If the experts of the big forces came, they would not even have a chance to fight for it. Boom! A cold-looking old man took the lead and rushed toward Domain Lord Zetian. A circle of energy rippled in the void under his feet. He stared at Domain Lord Zetian with cold eyes like a poisonous snake, and an extremely cold chi burst out from his body. Runes fluctuated, and suddenly the void in the mountain cave fluctuated violently. The overwhelming chi and runes gathered into a huge palm print in an instant, which contained a cold, evil spirit. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. With a deep shout, the cold-looking old man's huge palm pressed down, and the terrible force caused the surrounding space to collapse. Who do you think you are? If we fight one-on-one, I will have no problem killing you. Domain Lord Zetian looked up at the palm that was enlarging in his eyes and sneered. His purple robe fluttered, and an even more vigorous force burst out, as if it had turned into countless purple ribbons, entangling the huge palm and shattering it with an invisible force. Humph! The cold-looking old man snorted, and his face was a little pale. Amitabha. With a Buddhist chant, the long-haired monk made a move. His hands formed a complicated handprint at lightning speed, and as the handprint was formed, the surrounding vigorous energy of heaven and earth gathered. Great Compassion Finger. As the energy gathered, the long-haired monk quickly condensed into a huge finger. The Buddha's shadow filled the air, and the Sanskrit chants were faint, but the destructive power spread out. From afar, it looked like a towering pillar, and it pressed down on Domain Lord Zetian. Great Compassion Finger, Demon Slayer. The long-haired monk shouted, and the handprint fell down. The surrounding mountain cave collapsed instantly, and the ground cracked like an abyss. The earth shook, and the mountains shook, and the surrounding boulders exploded. This handprint was too terrifying, and it was definitely not ordinary. The domain grade martial technique is not far from the divine grade. Looking at the power of this finger, Domain Lord Zetion's face turned solemn. The long-haired monk's cultivation was not bad, and his martial technique was also terrifying. Moreover, there were many experts around who were eyeing him covetously. It was unlikely that he would be able to escape today. Chapter 1903. However, it was impossible for Domain Lord Zetion to hand over a strand of sacred will. A strand of sacred will was a huge opportunity for him to step into the Saint Realm in the future. It was left behind by a true Saint Realm cultivator. Besides, would these people really let him go if he handed over the strand of sacred will? Domain Lord Zetion didn't think so. The experts all around were eyeing him covetously. Some were from the Beast region, and some were independent cultivators. Perhaps some were afraid of the desolate country, but it was different in the dark. He still had an ancient inheritance on him that would be difficult to take away. One finger slaying a demon, like a pillar that supported the heavens, and its terrifying power made the surrounding experts frown inwardly. This monk's strength was definitely extraordinary. "Fight!" shouted Purple Sky Sovereign. He had nowhere to run, but he wasn't afraid. He raised his arm, and a claw wrapped in purple light shot into the sky. Purple runes soared into the sky and swept across the sky. It crashed into the long-haired monk's claw like a bolt of purple lightning. Crackle crackle, the claw and finger collided, and the space around them became chaotic. Pitch-black spatial cracks spread out. Rumble. Many of the stone walls in the surrounding caves cracked and exploded, revealing ravines that spread into the distance like a spider web. Domain Lord Zetion, your sealed domain realm cultivation isn't enough, sneered the long-haired monk. He used his peak great domain realm cultivation to attack with all his might. His claw was about to shatter Domain Lord Zetion's claw. Domain Lord Zetion snorted. Purple runes rose from his body and transformed into his true form. It was a purple sky marten. It wasn't large, but it was incomparably domineering and ferocious. His claw once again resisted the terrifying claw. Domain Lord Zetion hadn't been in the domain realm for long, but he was already in the sealed domain realm. However, his talent was extraordinary. Even though he was in the Beast region, he was able to resist the long-haired monk's peak great domain realm cultivation. Seeing that he couldn't suppress Domain Lord Zetion despite using all his strength, the long-haired monk's expression darkened. He said darkly, "Everyone attack together. We'll talk about the sacred will later." Alright. The few powerful rogue cultivators behind the long-haired monk seemed to have reached an agreement. Otherwise, they would not be able to contend with the other factions and large clans. When they heard the long-haired monk's words, they immediately moved. Several terrifying auras soared into the sky and surged violently. Several attacking forces were like light beams that shot toward Domain Lord Zetion at lightning speed. The surrounding experts looked at each other with vigilance, but they had no intention to intervene. Not everyone dared to intervene. After all, the barren country was at its peak now, and experts were as numerous as clouds. The relationship between the Domain Lord Zetion and the barren country was not ordinary. He was the Demon King's martial uncle. However, if these rogue cultivators dared to touch the Domain Lord Zetion, it would not be a problem for them to fight for the divine will and inheritance. Rumble. The mountain cave rumbled, and the energy of heaven and earth raged. Several attacks were above the domain realm, and they were not much weaker than the long-haired monk. The terrifying energy fluctuations caused the space to crumble inch by inch. Domain Lord Zetion's expression was extremely grave. He had already used all his strength to deal with the monk. Now that there were several domain realm cultivators, it was impossible for him to resist. The dazzling attacks expanded in his eyes. "You want the sacred will? Dream on. Even if I die, you won't get it." Domain Lord Zetion laughed maniacally. Since he couldn't escape today, he would not let others take advantage of him. After he shouted, a terrifying aura surged out from his body again. Dazzling light shone, and purple runes filled the sky. "Be careful, he's going to self-destruct," someone exclaimed. The situation was chaotic, and his expression changed drastically. If Domain Lord Zetian self-destructed, no one would benefit from it. Instead, someone else would be affected. Martial Uncle? Suddenly, a voice rang out at this moment. An invisible force seeped out from space and distorted space. It directly enveloped the Purple Martin's rising aura, forcefully suppressing it. At the same time, a purple figure quietly appeared in front of the Purple Celestial Martin. Domain Lord Zetian's expression changed. He looked at the figure that suddenly appeared. When he heard the familiar voice, his eyes went blank for a moment. Then, surprise surged in his eyes. Crash. The terrifying attacks in the surroundings and the long-haired monk's finger imprint also strangely stopped in the void at this moment, unable to take even half a step forward. Humph! The purple figure appeared, and a cold snort came from his throat. He waved his purple sleeve, causing the space to tremble. The long-haired monk and the other attacks quietly disappeared. Everyone was stunned, and the place was silent. Everyone's eyes were trembling in shock. The purple figure appeared clearly. It was a young man. He was tall, and his face was sharp. His eyes were clear and resolute. He ignored everyone around him and bowed respectfully to Domain Lord Zetian. He said, "Disciple greets sixth martial uncle." Good, ha. Domain Lord Zetian put away his original body and turned into his human form. He looked at the purple-robed man who suddenly appeared and said, "Good," 3 times. Then he laughed loudly. His laughter reverberated in the space like thunder. The purple-robed man who suddenly appeared in front of Domain Lord Zetian was none other than his martial nephew, the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Oh no, he is the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Someone recognized the purple-robed man. He was the martial nephew of Domain Lord Zetian, the young hall master of the 7-star hall, the rock emperor of the barren country, and the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Coo. Some people's eyes were filled with horror. The thing that they were most afraid of had happened. They were already worried about the barren country because of Domain Lord Zetian. Now, it was the Demon King Du Xiaofu himself. He is the Demon King Du Xiaofu. The long-haired monk's expression changed. His eyes were trembling. The invisible aura of a person's life tree was enough to make his soul tremble. The long-haired monk wanted to escape. As a rogue cultivator who had cultivated for many years, he was best at adapting to the situation and escaping. At this moment he did not hesitate at all. He had heard of the brutality of the Demon King Du Xiaofu. He had even killed people from the dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal. He did not dare to stay any longer. However, just as the long-haired monk was about to escape, the space in front of him fluctuated. A figure quietly appeared beside him, and a claw was placed on his neck. It was like an eagle catching a chick. The long-haired monk could only watch helplessly, but he was unable to dodge or block the attack. "Rock Emperor, please spare my life." "I am willing." The long-haired monk's eyes were filled with fear. His voice was hoarse, and the throbbing from the depths of his soul made him realize that he had made the wrong choice today. Du Xiaofu stood quietly with calm eyes. His grip on the long-haired monk's claw tightened slightly. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as the void exploded. Spatial ripples surged out, and the long-haired monk's body exploded. A mist of blood poured out, and his soul was destroyed. Monk Changlu is dead. Everyone in the cave was horrified. Monk Changlu was a well-known rogue cultivator who had been famous for a long time. His cultivation was at the peak of the Great Domain realm, and many major forces had to give him face. However, he was killed by the Demon King Du Xiaofu without a word. Not good. The remaining rogue cultivators who had attacked together were all shocked. They watched Monk Changlu being killed like an ant, and the hair on their backs stood on end. Whoosh whoosh. Several figures suddenly broke through the air and fled in several directions. Monk Changlu had been killed, so how could the Demon King Du Xiaofu let them go? Whoosh whoosh. Looking at the fleeing figures, Du Xiaofu waved his sleeve and a green light appeared in his palm. This was Du Xiaofu's illusionary saber array. It turned into several lightning-like saber lights that pierced through the air. Bang bang bang. Several fleeing figures turned into a mist of blood in the air above the cave. All of them were killed, and none of them managed to escape. The whole place was shocked and speechless. Some people's legs began to weaken, and their eyes trembled. Chapter 1904. There are quite a lot of people. Demon Vulture Clan, Sky Snake Clan. Du Xiaofu turned around and looked at the hundreds of figures around the cave. His indifferent gaze remained calm. He could sense quite a few familiar auras. Yu Rei was from the Demon Vulture Clan, who he had met in the School of Legalism, as well as the Heavenly Serpent Clan and other large clans of the Beast region. Greetings, Rock Emperor. Actually, we're just here to watch the show. We didn't do anything just now. It was Monk Chonglu and the others. A slender, fair-skinned middle-aged man from the Sky Snake Clan said to Du Xiaofu, his whole body trembling. Yeah, we're just here to watch the show. We wanted to help Domain Lord Zetian, but we didn't expect the Rock Emperor to suddenly come. That's great, said a majestic old man from the Demon Vulture Clan. Rock Emperor, we'll leave now. Some people began to leave, not daring to stay any longer. If they'd known that the Demon King Du Xiaofu was nearby, they wouldn't have dared to chase after Domain Lord Zetian. They also didn't dare to address the Demon King in front of his face. That was what they called him behind his back. Yeah, we'll leave now. Many experts smiled awkwardly and planned to leave immediately. What? You want to leave already? Asked Du Xiaofu, a cold glint in his eyes. Rock Emperor, what do you mean? We didn't do anything. Our Sky Snake Clan has never had any conflict with the desolate country, said the middle-aged man. Said the middle-aged man from the Sky Serpent Clan. His expression changed. It seemed that the Devil King Du Xiaofu did not intend to let them go. Our Demon Vulture Clan has never had any conflict with the desolate country. We didn't do anything just now. The old man from the Demon Vulture Clan was pale. He brought up the Demon Vulture Clan, Sky Snake Clan, and other large clans, hoping that the Demon King Du Xiaofu would give them some face. Otherwise, they'd be in trouble today. A bunch of bastards who only know how to act according to the wind, cursed Domain Lord Zetian. Domain Lord Zetian scolded. These people were not like this just now. They were clearly being aggressive. They did not attack just now because they wanted to take advantage of the situation. Xiaofu, I'm fine. Let them go. However, Realm Lord Zetian didn't want to cause any trouble for Du Xiaofu. The Demon Vulture Clan, the Sky Snake Clan, the Blaze Flame Lion Clan, and other large clans of the Beast region were not to be trifled with. Du Xiaofu already had enough enemies. Alright, I won't attack you guys either. Du Xiaofu said to the hundreds of trembling figures around him. Everyone in the surroundings revealed delighted expressions when they heard this, and numerous figures instantly soared into the sky and left swiftly. They were deeply afraid that the Demon King would go back on his word. He felt guilty. As a disciple, he hadn't been able to save his master or find his uncles. Silly child, you have already done enough. With your current achievements, I believe that your master will definitely be happy and proud of you. It's just that the demon sect is too big, but you are still young. We will definitely have a chance in the future. Domain Lord Zetian patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder and said. The young man in front of him was too young, but his achievements were eye-catching. However, it was still not enough to face the devil religion. Master, please be patient for a while. I'll save you soon. Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth. He felt the 3,000 quaking thunder soul seeds in his Naiwan palace. Master was still alive. He must save him soon. Moksha, have you reached the heavenly devil battlefield? Du Xiaofu made up his mind. If he met people from the devil religion in the heavenly devil battlefield, he must find a way to find out about his master. Especially if he met Moksha. Moksha must have a high position in the devil religion. If he could capture Moksha, he should be able to get his master back from the devil religion. Later, Du Xiaofu learned from Domain Lord Zetian that second Uncle Master Fairy Yu, Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, and the other disciples of the Seven-Star Hall had also entered the heavenly devil battlefield. Some of them were even with the disciples of the Huang nation. The other situations were similar to what Jin Qingchun had said. I've heard of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. It's a mysterious place. Domain Lord Zetian's eyes flickered when he learned that Du Xiaofu was going to the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Uncle Master, come with me. We can take care of each other. Du Xiaofu wanted to bring his sixth uncle master to the heavenly Yu Mountain. Anyway, he wasn't afraid of anyone in the heavenly devil battlefield. His sixth uncle master was injured, and it wasn't safe for him to go alone. Chapter 1905. Translator, H2-2 Mr. After that, Du Xiaofu took out many pills and gave them to Domain Lord Zetian so that he could enter the desolate ancient space to recover. Domain Lord Zetian didn't stand on ceremony. He took a few pills and put the rest into his Qiankuan bag. Du Xiaofu didn't stay for long. He immediately got up and headed for the heavenly Yu Mountain. Dongli Qingqing's situation was still unclear, and it was still very dangerous. This made Du Xiaofu anxious. A famous expert. Du Xiaofu muttered in his heart as he made a mental note of the famous experts. More and more people appeared on the way to the heavenly Yu Mountain. Du Xiaofu used the disguised divine art to change his appearance. It wasn't because he was afraid of anything, but because he didn't want to attract attention. Along the way, there were also demonic beasts and many evil spirits. Many human and beast elites fought with the evil spirits and demonic beasts. There were casualties on both sides. However, the evil spirits and demonic beasts were still slightly inferior. It was just that no one dared to be careless. They were very careful along the way. Along the way, they came across a large ancient city where living beings gathered. Only then did they breathe a sigh of relief. The evil spirits and demonic beasts didn't dare to come close to such a place. They had never heard of demonic beasts or evil spirits attacking such a place. Du Xiaofu also followed the crowd into the city, preparing to gather some information. As expected, the entire city was filled with news about the heavenly Yu Mountain. The rumored heavenly Yu Mountain had appeared and alarmed many elites. Many great forces were also rushing over, afraid that they would miss this great opportunity. There are countless spirit herbs in the heavenly Yu Mountain. In these long years, it's rumored that there are spirit herbs that have already turned into demonic beasts. There are also sacred herbs that only exist in legends. Eating them can allow one to step into the saint realm. Du Xiaofu used the disguised divine art to hide his appearance. He entered the ancient modeled city and heard all kinds of discussions about the heavenly Yu Mountain. Many living beings were in an uproar. Many supreme prodigies from the great forces are rushing over. Some elites who are searching for other mystery realms are also rushing over. I'm afraid this time, there will be a fierce battle. Although the heavenly Hermit Mountain has appeared, entering the heavenly Hermit Mountain isn't an easy task. I hope that I can enter the heavenly Yu Mountain and obtain the legendary sacred medicine. When the time comes, I'll be able to reach the heavens in a single bound and compete with the current generation's heaven's chosen martial artists. I'm afraid you won't get a share of the sacred medicine. You don't even have the qualifications to be a servant of those supreme geniuses from the major factions. Do you still want to compete for the sacred medicine? Du Xiaofu did not say anything. He listened to all kinds of news and secretly looked around. He wanted to see if there were any disciples of the desolate country in this small town. He also wanted to know if there were any news about Dongli Qingqing, Du Xiaoyao, Du Xiaoqing, and Little Xingxing. This is an ancient map related to the secrets of the heavenly Yu Mountain. The heavenly devil battlefield is where the inheritances are distributed and where the demons gather. Don't miss this opportunity. There were many hawking voices in the town. It was noisy and lively, attracting the attention of many people. However, Du Xiaofu did not even look at them. He knew that they were fake. It could only be said that some cultivators were really good at doing business. However, those true experts would not be fooled. So many experts. Du Xiaofu walked through the streets and alleys. He felt the aura of many experts. There were beasts, humans, and demons. Among them, there were many familiar auras. They should be the bloodline disciples of those familiar races. Gee, all of a sudden, an 8-winged giant python soared into the sky. Its entire body was a bright and resplendent cyan color, as if it was a flowing crystal. Heavens, that's an 8-winged green crystal python. Someone exclaimed softly. That was the 8-winged green crystal python that was rumored to have disappeared. It was also an expert. That colorful and beautiful 8-winged green crystal python landed in the town and turned into a beautiful woman in a long green dress. Her face was enchanting and her figure was alluring. Many people's eyes lit up. Look, it's the famous martial artist Hui Yuan. Suddenly, such news spread, and the whole street was in an uproar. There were too many experts here. Du Xiaofu did not use the power of his primordial spirit to spy on them. On the street ahead, he saw many figures arrogantly walking over. They had extraordinary figures and outstanding temperaments. At the front was a young man in a long robe. His face was angular, and there was a terrifying aura rippling from his body. He was filled with absolute strength and danger. There was also a pressure that could not be provoked. Hui Yuan of the famous martial artist. Du Xiaofu remembered that this young man in a long robe was Hui Yuan, the lesser martial artist of the famous martial artist. He was the true number one of the younger generation of the famous martial artist, the bloodline soul of the Tiger clan. Back then, Du Xiaofu fought with Hui Yuan in the divine domain and severely injured him. Before entering the martial artist's tomb, this person's cultivation was at the nirvana realm. At this moment, Du Xiaofu felt the aura from Hui Yuan's body. There was actually the aura of a nirvana realm expert leaking out. Du Xiaofu didn't recognize the people from the Taoist school. He only secretly paid attention to the people from the famous martial artist. However, the people from the famous martial artist didn't seem to leave even once. After finding a courtyard, they didn't come out again. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged on a street corner not far away. This small city was already full of people, and there were cultivators resting everywhere. However, not many people could find a place to stay in this small city with the power of the famous martial artist. However, the small city was not calm. After a few hours, there was a bright light, and a Buddhist aura appeared. Many novice monks and bald monks appeared. Some of the monks at the front had 9 shining rings on their heads. Henglun, ninefold spirit. Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged on the street corner, opened his eyes and saw a young monk in a golden cassock. Beside him was a familiar figure. It was Henglun of the Taoist school and ninefold spirit. A genius from the immemorial gold-devouring rat clan is here. Heavens, that's the descendant of the great snow mountain, Lian Qingrong. Another supreme martial artist. The small city was in an uproar. Many experts entered and stayed in the small city. Among them, there were 8 beautiful maids who came with a man in white, causing the biggest uproar. Du Xiaofu opened his eyes again. There was a flash of light in his eyes. It had been a long time since he had seen that guy. These experts, geniuses, and supreme martial artists appeared one after another. Then, they all looked for a place to rest. They seemed to have been in a hurry and were tired. They wanted to stay in this small city and gather some information. Those are people from the desolate country. Just like this, a few more hours passed. When such a commotion entered his ears, Du Xiaofu's slightly closed eyes immediately opened. At the end of the street, there was a commotion. Many figures were emitting a powerful aura. These figures were familiar to Du Xiaofu. At the front was a charming woman. She had a face that could topple countries and cities, and her eyes were always smiling. Her black hair was as smooth as a waterfall, and it reached her soft waist and buttocks. She was enchanting and graceful, and also holy and noble. On the left and right of this charming woman, there was a man in a black robe with dark eyes and a man in green clothes with a green pattern on the outside. The man's robe fluttered in the wind, and his shoulder-length hair danced in the wind. He had a fierce aura. Little Green, Little Tiger, Mo Tianxiao. When these people appeared, Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up. However, he did not show himself. He suppressed the fluctuation in his heart and quietly watched from afar. Du Xiaoqing and Little Tiger from the desolate country. That is the sister and mount of the Demon King. There is also Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao. He has joined the desolate country and has a very high status there. He is also a terrifying supreme martial artist. The appearance of the desolate country's people will cause a commotion no less than the arrival of any supreme martial artist. There are experts coming. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked outside the city. There were some living beings flying over, but in the distant void, there was a very powerful aura approaching. The strength of the aura was extraordinary. It was not restrained at all, and it made Du Xiaofu's expression change. Chapter 1906. Translator. H2H2 Mr. There was far more than one powerful aura. Du Xiaofu also felt a sense of déjà vu. Whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, from the distant void outside the small city, a number of rainbow-colored figures descended, bringing with them the sound of wind whistling through the air. Boom. The first two figures were as fast as lightning, ignoring the broken and mottled city walls as they hovered in the air. Their auras were vast, shaking the entire city. Four gazes swept across the city like lightning. The first figure was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s. His appearance was very ordinary, but that inexplicable aura and presence was enough to make anyone revere and look up to him. It's him! When he saw this middle-aged man, Du Xiaofu's calm eyes suddenly fluctuated violently. A chill involuntarily surged out of his body, but he immediately suppressed it. How could Du Xiaofu forget this middle-aged man? This was the old supremacy of legalism. Beneath his sanctimonious appearance, he was actually the most shameless and despicable person of all. Dragons? At this moment, there was another middle-aged man beside the old supremacy of legalism, causing Du Xiaofu's brows to twitch slightly. The aura of dragons rippled unreservedly from this middle-aged man, causing all the beasts in the small city to tremble. This middle-aged man and the old supremacy of legalism stood side by side, their gazes like lightning as they searched for something in the city. These two people did not hide their auras too much at this moment. These were two terrifying existences who could move unhindered in the world. However, Du Xiaofu was not too concerned. Whether it was the old supremacy of legalism or that dragon's expert, they were not as strong as Long Teng. Although these two people were strong, Du Xiaofu did not feel any pressure at this moment. However, Du Xiaofu resisted the urge to make a move. He did not want to expose his identity and follow the famous family to Dongli Qingqing. They're looking for someone. Du Xiaofu stared at the old reverend and the expert from the dragon race. The two of them didn't restrain their auras and were scanning the area from a low altitude. They were clearly searching for something. Du Xiaofu was worried that the two of them were looking for the desolate country's people. With the strength of Mo Tianxiao, Little Tiger Du, and Du Xiaoqing, it would be difficult for them to resist the old Great Lord and the dragons. They would pay a huge price. Whoosh whoosh. The old lord of legalism and the middle-aged man from the dragons were clearly not alone. Behind them, the sound of wind breaking could be heard. Many figures had also arrived and stopped behind them. Du Xiaofu saw many familiar figures. Some of the dragons and legalism elders, and even Elder Long Bao from the dragons were among them. When he encountered Long Bao and Long Bao in the beast region, Du Xiaofu had to risk his life. However, when he saw Long Bao and Long Bao again, Du Xiaofu only glanced at them indifferently and did not pay any attention to them. However, when he saw these two people, Du Xiaofu wanted to thank these two dragons' elders for inadvertently handing over one of the Xianhuang 4 elephants' seal in exchange for Dragon 5th. Otherwise, he would not have known where to find that seal. It's the experts from the dragons and legalism. When such experts arrived in the small city, some people with good eyesight recognized them. Immediately, the streets and alleys of the small city were in an uproar. Those auras were not hidden at all. They were so oppressive that they could not breathe. Their xian qi stagnated and their bodies trembled. Such powerful auras also alarmed Hui Yuan, Lian Qingrong, Su Yangzi, Heng Lun, Jiu Xingling, and the other supreme geniuses who had entered the city to rest. They all came out. In a building, the beautiful 8-winged green crystal python, who had transformed into a woman in a green dress, also looked at the sky. She studied the people from the school of legalism and the dragon clan with her enchanting face. Her green eyes were enchanting and calm. The desolate nation. Soon, the old sovereign of legalism saw Mo Tianxiao, Du Xiaoqing and Little Tiger. The corners of his eyes twitched and he could not help but shoot out coldly. When the other elders and experts from the legalism and dragons saw Du Xiaoqing and the other desolate nation disciples, their expressions immediately turned cold. The enmity between the desolate nation and the legalism had reached a point where they would not rest until one of them was dead. There was no need for words. Sensing the gazes from the old sovereign of legalism, Mo Tianxiao, Du Shaoqing, and Little Tiger's expressions darkened. With so many experts and the old sovereign of legalism present, the desolate nation would definitely be at a disadvantage if they fought. They would have to pay a huge price. Could it be that the dragons and legalism are here for the desolate nation? I'm afraid a bloody battle is unavoidable. The experts from the Dragon Clan and the legalism school had come, and the people from the barren country were also present. Some people in the small city had already noticed that something was amiss. It was likely that so many experts from the Dragon Clan and the legalism school had come for the people from the barren country. As for the enmity between the desolate nation and the legalism, dragons, and school of vertical and horizontal, it had already spread throughout the world. There were probably not many people who did not know about it. Su Yangzi and the rest of the people from the Taoist sect were also secretly focused when they saw this scene. The desolate nation's lineup was clearly not their match. Once the battle started, the Taoist sect would have to make a choice. Although the Taoist sect had always had a good relationship with the desolate nation, they had not officially made a clear choice. This choice was probably difficult for the Taoist disciples present to make. Lian Qingrong's expression also changed. Once the battle started, the desolate nation would definitely be at a disadvantage. At that time, he would have no choice but to reveal his identity. The atmosphere in the small city suddenly became tense. The air froze and the living beings trembled. Du Xiaofu's eyes fluctuated. Once the legalism and dragons made a move against the desolate nation, he would have no choice but to take action. Boom! Suddenly, in this tense atmosphere, an exceptionally terrifying aura fluctuated from the distant sky. In an instant, a dazzling golden light spread from afar in the air. The dazzling golden light made it difficult for the living beings in the small city to open their eyes and look directly at it. When the aura and dazzling golden light spread from the sky, the experts from the dragons and the old sovereign of legalism immediately changed their expressions and looked askance. Whoosh whoosh, as the golden light appeared, the sound of the wind breaking was heard. Rumble. Immediately after, in the distant sky of the small city, rays of golden light fell from the sky like thunder from the 9 heavens. Dozens of tall and majestic golden figures walked out from the golden light. The golden light converged like the sun setting in the west. The dozens of figures filled the square with majestic aura, releasing a domineering pressure. As the dozen or so figures descended at this moment, a smile immediately appeared on Du Xiaofu's face. The blood in his body secretly boiled and fluctuated. "It's the golden-winged rock clan," someone exclaimed softly. Suddenly, the small city was stunned. Many people's eyes trembled violently. That domineering and majestic aura, the terrifying pressure of a supreme beast, was even more powerful than that of the dragons. It was the golden-winged rock clan. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was extremely familiar with the dozen or so figures that appeared above the small city. The 5th elder, Jialo Yuantu, and the 4th elder, Jialo Yi, were among them, as well as many disciples of the golden-winged rock clan. There were 3 figures in the lead. On the left and right were 2 old men with white eyebrows and beard. One of them looked old, wore a scholarly robe, and had golden eyes. It was the 2nd elder and the 3rd elder. At the center was a young man who wore a wide yellow robe with gold trimmings. He stood silently at a low altitude, and he seemed like a piece of flawless jade. He possessed an extraordinarily handsome appearance and extraordinary charm, and he even imperceptibly emanated an overbearing aura. That kind of aura had nothing to do with cultivation strength. Chapter 1907. Hearing the 2nd elder and the 3rd elder of the golden-winged great rocks, the eyes of the legalism high lord and the middle-aged expert of the dragons twitched. Originally, they had an absolute chance of winning against the desolate country. However, with so many powerful cultivators from the golden-winged great Pringbird clan joining the fray, there was probably no hope at all. Jialo Guanyu, Jialo Zhiheng, stop making oblique accusations. The golden-winged great rocks are still unable to cover the sky with one hand. This world is not the ancient times. The old great lord spoke to the great golden-winged pengbird race. Even with his temper, he could not endure such words. "Hankei, if you're not convinced, I'll spar with you. Anyway, I've long disliked your legalism. Some things have to be settled sooner or later. Let's collect some interest today." The second elder directly picked on the old patriarch of the legalism family. He was just short of pointing at his nose and scolding him. The enmity between the legalism family and the junior patriarch was clearly against the golden-winged great rocks as well. If it were not for some other concerns, the golden-winged great rocks would have lost their patience long ago. Now that the heavenly devil battlefield had opened, some of the restraints and apprehensions of the major clans and races would slowly disappear. Looking at the second elder of the golden-winged great rocks, the old High Lord of legalism really didn't dare to casually make a move. It wasn't that he was afraid, but he definitely didn't have any confidence. Moreover, the golden-winged great rocks had the advantage in numbers. There were also Taoists, Buddhists, and other famous people. Do the golden-winged great rocks really think they're invincible? The middle-aged dragons expert couldn't help but ask. The dragons and the golden-winged rocks had a grudge since ancient times. The third elder looked at the middle-aged dragons with a golden light in his eyes. "You must be Long Teng's grandson, Long Ming. I heard that you're also a half-step Nirvana supremacy, but not long ago, Long Teng was killed by our young clan leader. As a grandson, you're really filial, wanting to accompany your grandfather so soon." The news of Du Xiaofu killing Long Teng not long ago had spread, and it was immediately known to all major factions. The golden-winged rocks had also heard of it. However, not everyone knew about this news. When the third elder said this, the entire city was stunned. The Devil King Du Xiaofu had appeared in the heavenly devil battlefield and had even killed the Dragon Clan's ancestor, Long Teng. This news was no different from a bomb that struck everyone present who didn't know, causing them to be flabbergasted. Long Teng's grandson? Du Xiaofu secretly sized up Long Ming. Long Teng's grandson had a very strong aura. He was a half-step Nirvana supremacy, which proved that his talent was extraordinary. His aura wasn't any weaker than the legalism supremacy. After hearing the third elder's words, Du Xiaofu knew that the second elder was called Jialo Guanyu, while the third elder was called Jialo Zhiheng. As for the legalism supremacy, he should be called Han Ke Feng. He really lived up to his name, very wicked. At this moment, the middle-aged man called Long Ming's face was as cold as frost. He was extremely gloomy as he glared fiercely at the third elder of the golden-winged great rocks. Long Ming was Long Teng's grandson. His grandfather had been killed by Du Xiaofu, so he had naturally received the news. Just now, he had wanted to settle the score with the people from the desolate country. Who knew that the people from the golden-winged rock clan would suddenly come as well? But now that his grandfather had been killed, one could imagine how Long Ming felt. He couldn't bear it. Business is more important. Bear with it for a while. There will be a chance to settle the score. Sensing Long Ming's aura, Han Kuoyoyo was someone who had lived for thousands of years after all. Her mental state and temperament were not ordinary. She transmitted her voice to Long Ming. If they were to start a war with the desolate country and the great golden-winged rocks, they would not be able to gain any advantage. The Taoist sect was close to the desolate country, and the Buddhist sect was also present. They had to be careful. This debt will be repaid in double. Long Ming said in a deep voice. His gaze was filled with meaning, but he held it back after Han Yuanshan transmitted his voice. He understood the situation very well. If they were to fight, they wouldn't gain any advantage. Jialo Guanyu and Jialo Zhiheng could only watch helplessly as Long Ming and the others showed no signs of fighting. Although they weren't afraid of the dragons and the legalism, the difference in strength between the two sides was too great. If they were to fight, even if they could wipe out 1,000 enemies, they would suffer great losses. Long Ming and Han Ke Feng weren't easy to deal with either. Today's matter has nothing to do with others. The legalism and the dragons are here for other matters. Those who have nothing to do with it, please step back. Han Ke-fong said, his voice echoing throughout the city. Not for the desolate country? Du Xiaofu looked at Han Yuanshan, who was flying low in the sky. He had thought that the legalism and the dragons were here for the desolate country. But now, it seemed that Han Ke-fong and the dragons were here for other matters and other people. The dragons and the legalism aren't here for the desolate country. The small city was in an uproar. Some people were surprised, but no one wanted to be implicated and they all retreated. But the Buddhists, famous scholars, Lian Qingrong, the desolate country, the golden-winged great rocks, and the Taoists didn't make any moves. They just watched the legalism and the dragon's actions quietly. In just a few breaths, the streets and alleys around the small city were emptied. All the living creatures retreated, not wanting to be implicated and suffer an unexpected calamity. Han Ke-fong looked down at the sky, searching for something. His eyes were like lightning and his face was gloomy. Coupled with the provocation he had just received, his voice was cold and gloomy. Come out, you can't escape. I'm sure you're here. Why struggle pointlessly? His voice echoed in every corner of the small city and fell into everyone's ears. Who are the legalism and the dragons looking for? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows inwardly. Someone who could make the legalism, Han Ke-fong, and the dragons pursue together couldn't be simple. The moment Han Ke-feng's voice fell, the entire city looked at each other, but there was no reaction. Oof, it's just a pointless struggle. Do you like to hide? Let's see how long you can hide. Han Ke-fong snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, several rays of light appeared in his palm like electric arcs. In the end, they shot out from his palm and flew down toward the small city. The dazzling rays of light flashed like spirit snakes in the surrounding crowd, causing panic and fear to surge out of many living creatures. However, no one dared to stop them, afraid that they would provoke the legalism and the dragons. And these spirit snake-like rays of light didn't cause any harm to anyone. As if they were searching for something, they constantly flew through the crowd. In the end, the rays of light finally stopped in front of a thin figure that had been deliberately hiding in the crowd. With a trembling sound, the rays of light shone brightly, as if they were about to transform into several sharp arrows, and a terrifying aura began to spread out. Whoosh! At this moment, the thin figure's robe suddenly shook, and an invisible wave of air rushed out. A powerful aura surged out, distorting the void and shattering the spirit's snake-like rays of light. Chapter 1908. Swish swish. In that instant, everyone's gazes landed on the thin figure. The thin figure's clothes were not ostentatious, but he was always shrouded in a black robe. The aura on his body rippled, but it was very ordinary. It was impossible to detect anything special about him in the entire city. However, at this moment, everyone's gazes were focused on this person. They all knew that this was the person who had provoked the legalism, Han Ke, and Long Ming to join forces to hunt him down. Kiki. When the thin figure shattered the several rays of light, Han Ke immediately sneered in the air. Long Ming and the rest also had cold looks in their eyes. Waves of aura spread out from the void, solidifying in the entire city and enveloping the sky. Swish swish. The people around the skinny, black-robed figure immediately retreated. They dared not stand beside him at all. The school of legalism and the Dragon Clan had come for him, so standing beside him right now was equivalent to courting death without a doubt. Once they were affected, they would not even be able to put up any resistance. Seems familiar. Du Xiaofu muttered to himself as he stared at the hidden figure. His sharp Yuan spirit detected a familiar aura from the figure's body when he carefully probed. Han Ke sneered, looking at the black-robed figure as he said in a low voice, "You can't hide. You will die today." The thin black-robed figure lowered his head slightly as he looked at the retreating figures around him. Suddenly, he shouted in a low voice, "If you want to kill me, you will have to pay the price in blood. Let's see who dies first." As he shouted, a terrifying murderous aura suddenly surged out from his body. His black robe was torn to shreds as his aura swept out and soared into the sky. Such an aura caused the surrounding living beings to tremble. This person was definitely not weak. He was probably not much weaker than Han Kuang and Long Ming. The expressions of the surrounding spectators changed. The black robe around the figure was torn to shreds, revealing a man in a dark red robe. The hood of the robe covered half of his head. He raised his head slightly to look at Han Kuang and Long Ming in the air. His face was chiseled and his body was surrounded by a baleful aura. His dark and deep icy eyes were filled with a sharp and profound gaze. "It's him!" When this person appeared, many of the gazes in the crowd changed in shock. This was especially true for Jialo Juayu, Su Yangzi, Henglun, Ninefold Spirit, Du Shaoqing, Little Tiger Du, Mo Tianxiao, Lian Qingrong, and the others. Heaven Fiend, Lonely Sky Howl. Du Xiaofu, who was in the crowd, was stunned when he saw the man with sharp eyes and a murderous aura. No wonder he felt a sense of déjà vu. It was this guy. Sigh, what a pitiful guy. After the astonishment on the faces of Lonely Sky Howl, Jialo Juiyu, Lian Qingrong, and the others faded, they looked at Lonely Sky Howl and felt their hearts ache. No wonder the legalism's Han Kuang and the dragons came to hunt this guy down. They were the ones who knew the reason the best. It's Heaven Fiend Yelu Han. No wonder Han Kuang and Long Ming came. Su Yangzi, Henglun, and Hui Yuan's expressions changed when they saw the man in the dark red robe surrounded by a baleful aura. They more or less knew the reason. Su Yangzi, Henglun, and Hui Yuan were all present in the God Domain. Back in the God Domain, Heaven Fiend Yelu Han and Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao had teamed up with legalism's Qin Wudi, School of Vertical and Horizontal's Gong Sun Wuji, and the dragon's Long San to deal with the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Later on, everyone found out that it was Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao and Heaven Fiend Yelu Han's plan. In truth, those two had been working with the Demon King Du Xiaofu for a long time. They had told the Demon King Du Xiaofu about Gong Sun Wuji, Long San, Qin Wudi, and the others' weaknesses. Only then did the Demon King Du Xiaofu kill them on the spot. Qin Wudi, Gong Sun Wuji, and the others had been killed. The fall of the sovereigns caused the legalism, dragons, and School of Vertical and Horizontal to suffer disastrous losses. Later on, Mo Tianxiao appeared in the desolate nation. He held a high position and was below only one person. This made everyone even more certain that Mo Tianxiao and Heaven Fiend Yelu Han had teamed up a long time ago. Qin Wudi, Gong Sun Wuji, and the others had been working together for dozens of years and possessed peerless talent, but in the end, they had fallen at the hands of the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Heaven Fiend Yelu Han is from the desolate nation, right? Of course. In the divine domain, the Demon King Du Xiaofu personally admitted that Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao had arrived in the desolate nation a long time ago. It said that back in the divine domain, Heaven Fiend Yelu Han secretly helped the Demon King Du Xiaofu kill Gong Sun Wuji, Qin Wudi, and Long San, these peerless talents. No wonder the legalism, School of Vertical and Horizontal, and dragons have been searching for Heaven Fiend Yelu Han. Discussions broke out all around. The matter of the divine domain had long since spread. In the heavenly devil battlefield, the School of Vertical and Horizontal, dragons, and legalism had also been searching for Heaven Fiend Yelu Han, causing a huge commotion. However, when Yelu Han heard these discussions, his chiseled face twitched a little, and his expression became very unnatural. To Yelu Han, he was the only one who knew what had happened. How could he be in cahoots with the Demon King Du Xiaofu? It was clear that after being ruthlessly ravaged by Du Xiaofu, he had been tricked. Thinking back to that time, Yelu Han still had lingering fears. Du Xiaofu was too cruel, he had almost been torn apart by him. Every time Yelu Han recalled how he had been tricked, he would gnash his teeth in hatred. Ever since he had left the divine domain, he had been hiding all over the place, afraid that the legalists would find him. After entering the heavenly devil battlefield, Yelu Han had been even more careful. However, he still couldn't escape the pursuit of the dragons and School of Vertical and Horizontal. His whereabouts had been exposed, and he had been chased all the way here. Listening to the discussions around him, Yelu Han wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was filled with hatred. But to Han Ke, Long Ming, and the other dragons and legalism disciples, It was as if they had been slapped in the face. One could imagine how they felt. Yelu Han, today I will definitely turn your bones to dust. Long Ming was furious. He had been suppressing his anger, and now he had found a place to vent it. I'll say it again. The deaths of Long San Qin Wudi and Gong Sun Wuji have nothing to do with me. Yelu Han shouted. He wasn't afraid, but he was still suppressing his anger. He had been tricked by that bastard Du Xiaofu. Yelu Han, do you think we're fools? If you really joined forces with Qin Wudi and Gong Sun Wuji, why didn't the Demon King kill you in the end? I once escaped a calamity because that bastard Du Xiaofu called you brother and gave you heavenly treasures to heal your injuries. You even drank Long San's dragon bone soup. Now you're saying that you have nothing to do with Du Xiaofu? Is that even possible? A thin middle-aged man walked out from the legalism group, his eyes shining with a dazzling light. He had hidden in the crowd to avoid a calamity, and he had personally seen Yelu Han and the Demon King call each other brother. You dare to touch a disciple of the dragons? Unforgivable! Long Ming was furious, and his shout was like a dragon's roar. Long San had been stewed and eaten. This was a blatant provocation to the dragons. You're the bastard. All of you legalism are bastards, said Du Xiaoqing. She glared at the middle-aged man from the legalism group who had just spoken. She couldn't tolerate anyone insulting her brother. Looking at Yelu Han, Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianzhao's eyes lit up. Then he smiled and said to Heavenly Demon Yelu Han warmly, Brother Yelu, there's no need to waste words with them. Although you didn't join the barren country, we did that together. As long as you say the word, the barren country will stand behind you. They can't do anything to you. When Mo Tianzhao's voice faded, Yelu Han's angular face became even more gloomy. At that moment, it was as if a herd of strange beasts were galloping through his heart. Sure enough, they were together. Chapter 1909. After interacting with Du Xiaofu for so long, Mo Tianzhao could more or less guess why Du Xiaofu had let Yelu Han go. Most likely, the Demon King was fond of Yelu Han and wanted to recruit him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made such arrangements. Thus, Mo Tianzhao had just spoken, hoping to add fuel to the fire and make Yelu Han choose to join the desolate nation in this time of crisis. With the golden-winged great rocks present, Han Ke Yao, Long Ming, and the others wouldn't be able to do anything today. Mo Tianzhao, we'll settle our debts in the future. I'm not done with you. But Mo Tianzhao's plan didn't go as he wished. Yelu Han didn't seem to appreciate his kindness. He turned around and fiercely shouted at Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianzhao. To Yelu Han, this was clearly Mo Tianzhao stabbing him in the back. Not to mention, he wouldn't be willing to join the desolate nation even if he was beaten to death. Back then, he had been ruthlessly ravaged by Du Xiaofu and had been forced to hide like a stray dog. This was a deep-seated hatred. Not to mention, he was Yelu Han. He had his own pride and had his own ancient sect. How could he join the desolate nation? If you want to fight, then come. I'll take it all. Let's see if you can really kill me. Yelu Han raised his head and looked at Han Ke Yao and Long Ming. He wouldn't explain any further because he was Yelu Han, a supreme being. In his generation, the number of peers who could make him respect them could be counted on one hand. And those who could make him regard them as important couldn't be more than two. Heavenly Demon Yelu Han, this name was his pride and arrogance. Boom! When these words fell, Yelu Han's sharp eyes opened and closed. The wind and clouds in the sky suddenly changed color. At the same time, Yelu Han's eyes lit up as if they contained two seas of blood. A terrifying light shot out and a majestic sea of baleful aura appeared around him. It was filled with runes, revealing a dazzling light that shook one's soul. This aura surged, shaking the entire area. Jialo Jueyu, Su Yangzi, Yelu Han, Henglin, Mo Tianzhao, and the others were all moved. Heavenly Demon Yelu Han's talent was definitely not below theirs. He was a nirvana supreme being. What a strong baleful aura. What a strong strength. Demon Yelu Han is very frightening. Compared to Qin Wudi of legalism and Gong Sun Wuji of the school of vertical and horizontal, he is absolutely on par. Yi Lui Han was an extremely strong Zun cultivator. There weren't many Zun cultivators in the world who could compete with him. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Han Ke suddenly spoke with a gloomy expression. His voice was loud and clear and shook the void. At this moment, Yelu Han didn't want the desolate country to interfere, which was exactly what Han Ke wanted. He didn't want to create more problems and miss out on such an opportunity. Boom! At the same time, a powerful aura spread out from Han Ke's body. Dazzling runes filled the sky as if a god was descending to the world. A fist imprint accompanied by a powerful force directly smashed down. This fist imbued with the power of heaven and earth. Moreover, Han Ke's cultivation level wasn't ordinary. Yelu Han didn't dare to be careless. In an instant, his baleful aura soared to the sky. He didn't hold back at all. Faint cries of ghosts and gods could be heard. A vast power surged out and collided with Han Ke's fist. Boom! Boom! There was a muffled sound as the void exploded. Multicolored light bloomed like fireworks. The surrounding streets cracked, ancient walls collapsed, and buildings were destroyed. Boom! Boom! Yelu Han retreated on the ground. The ground under his feet exploded. He was secretly surprised. What a strange baleful aura. In the air, Han Ke's body trembled as she retreated. The baleful chi from Yelu Han was extremely terrifying, able to invade both the body and the primordial spirit. For those at the same cultivation level, just the baleful chi alone was enough to cause them to suffer. Prepare to die. Long Ming interfered, following closely behind Han Kao as he lunged towards Yelu Han. Everywhere he passed by, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A violent surge of energy swept out in all directions as he punched out. Resplendent golden runes flickered in front of his fist, transforming into the phantom of a gigantic dragon. The dragon roared. Wherever the dragon phantom passed, space distorted to the point of collapse. Faint traces of pitch-black light could be seen as it instantly arrived in front of Yelu Han. Yelu Han snorted. His billowing baleful aura intensified, distorting space as if it could affect the stability of space. Under this baleful aura, space trembled as if on the verge of collapse. At the same time, the heavenly fiend Yelu Han's body was also covered in layers of dark red talisman runes that seemed to be releasing endless fiendish energy. Without any hesitation, facing the combined forces of Han Ke and the dragon's Long Ming, Yelu Han activated his martial vein. His face became ferocious and baleful aura entered his body. He was like a demon, incomparably terrifying. What a terrifying baleful aura. Oomph! This baleful aura caused space to tremble. That baleful aura caused Mo Qingrong, Henglun, Su Yangzi, and the others' scalps to tingle. Roar! With a shake of his arm, Yelu Han's hand seals condensed like lightning. Killing intent billowed out, covering the void. It transformed into a ferocious beast that cut through the void and collided with Long Ming's dragon shadow. Rumble! This collision brought about a destructive force. Baleful aura surged and dragon's might bloomed. It swept out in all directions, razing the surrounding area to the ground and turning it into ruins. Many living beings retreated. Mo Tianxiao, Su Yangzi, Hengluan, and the others had no choice but to retreat far away from the shockwaves. Even the dragons and legalists, with the exception of Han Kuoing and Long Ming, had all retreated. No one else had the strength to participate in this kind of battle. Master Domain, Reincarnation Nirvana. As the crowd retreated, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. As the three of them attacked, nothing could escape Du Xiaofu's prying eyes. Han Ke was at the Master Domain. Although he couldn't compare to Li Chunfa and Qin Tianshi, who were at the peak of the Master Domain, he was still at the Master Domain. As for Long Ming, who was at the half-step Nirvana stage, he was at the Reincarnation Nirvana stage. He seemed to have stepped into it not long ago as his aura wasn't very stable. One was at the Master Domain, while the other was at the Reincarnation Nirvana stage. Moreover, they were both from the legalism and the dragons. Du Xiaofu began to worry for Yelu Han. Du Xiaofu knew exactly how strong Yelu Han was. Half-step Nirvana stage. However, Yelu Han's cultivation couldn't escape Du Xiaofu's prying eyes. He had surpassed the nirvana stage, but had yet to truly enter the reincarnation nirvana stage. However, Yelu Han hadn't been at a disadvantage just now and had directly resisted Long Ming's attack. As a half-step nirvana stage cultivator, he had directly resisted Long Ming's true reincarnation stage cultivation. This was enough to prove that if they were at the same level, Yelu Han would have a complete victory. However, there was also the legalism's Han Ke, who was at the master domain. This caused Yelu Han's gaze to turn serious. Let's finish this quickly. Han Ke attacked again. He didn't linger for long. As the runes in the sky surged, they transformed into a dazzling giant palm. Boundless energy rumbled in the distorted space, carrying with it a terrifying momentum as it enveloped Yelu Han. This palm imprint was too terrifying. It descended from the sky, and as the wind and clouds surged, the small city began to collapse. The ground outside the city began to crack, and the surrounding creatures all trembled. They felt insignificant and were shaken by this. This move again? It's still not enough. This was Yelu Han's reply. He seemed to have already fought with Han Ke and understood some of Han Ke's techniques. Yelu Han attacked with his full strength. Surging murderous aura accompanied by the power of his martial veins instantly turned into a storm of murderous aura, causing pitch-black cracks to appear around him. It tore the space apart and blocked Han Ke's palm. A terrifying vortex of murderous aura surged, capable of shaking one's yuan spirit and invading one's physical body. Its power was enough to tear the sky apart. Bang, bang, bang. The murderous aura soared into the sky, devouring everything. Everything exploded and collapsed. Dust filled the sky as murderous aura surged in the air. At this moment, Yelu Han's half-step nirvana stage cultivation surged out. He forcefully blocked Han Ke's palm with a destructive force. Han Ju's gaze was gloomy. He was at the Overlord realm, yet he was actually unable to completely suppress Yelu Han. This terrifying baleful aura was simply too strange and terrifying. He had to divide his attention to deal with the effects of the baleful aura, and his hands and feet were tied. This Yelu Han is really strong. At this moment, the elders of the great golden-winged pengbird clans secretly praised. A half-step nirvana stage cultivator resisting Han Ke's master domain cultivation was definitely powerful. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon's roar resounded through the sky. A dark golden dragon appeared in the sky. Its head couldn't be seen with a single glance. The dragon's scales shone brightly and its might was impressive. The dragon's might swept through the sky, vast and terrifying. The space around the dragon's enormous body was also distorted. This was Long Ming's true body. The enormous dragon's body was as fast as lightning. As the dragon swooped down, its aura erupted and shook the surroundings. Long Ming roared. His dragon's eyes rippled with dense coldness. The dragon's might was intimidating. His enormous dragon tail swung, causing the space to explode and shatter, revealing a long space crack. He ruthlessly smashed towards Yelu Han's murderous aura vortex. Yelu Han's murderous aura vortex was barely resisting Han Ke's attack. A crack immediately appeared on it. A dragon claw reached out. Dragon runes rushed out and runes soared into the sky. The dragon raised its head, ferocious and terrifying. Another crack appeared on Yelu Han's murderous aura vortex. Sizzle. Under such an attack, Han Ke's terrifying hand seal completely destroyed Yelu Han's murderous aura vortex. The murderous aura shattered and rushed into the sky. Sizzle! Han Ke's figure directly appeared in front of Yelu Han. A hand seal slammed towards Yelu Han's chest. Yelu Han's expression changed. He retreated in a strange manner. His body seemed to be about to turn into murderous aura and become illusory. However, Yelu Han was a step too slow. Han Ke's hand seal avoided his chest, but it still landed on his shoulder. Immediately, a muffled sound rang out. Chapter 1910. Bang! Bang! Yelu Han spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a cannon, he smashed into the broken city wall below, sending rubble flying everywhere. The ground rumbled and cracked. Yi Louis Han seems to have been injured. Someone noticed. Someone saw some clues. Heavenly Fiend Yelu Han was already injured, and now he was being attacked by Han Ju-ing and Long Ming. Today, he was probably doomed. Trying to escape again? Bang! Just as Yelu Han's body was about to crash into the ground, Han Ke shouted coldly and waved his hand. Energy runes shone brightly and turned into a sharp energy sword that slashed towards the ground not far away. Crack! Bang! The ground cracked and trembled. A huge gully appeared, as if an earthquake had occurred. Bang! Bang! A figure rushed out with a baleful aura. It was Yelu Han. He wanted to use this chance to escape, but Han Ju was on guard and didn't succeed. Roar! Long Ming's body circled in the air. Han Ju's robes fluttered as he stood in the air, facing Long Ming. They surrounded Yelu Han, one from the front and one from the back. Yelu Han stood in the air, his eyes cold as he stared at Han Ju and Long Ming. He waved his sleeve to wipe away the blood at the corner of his mouth, making him look even more ferocious. Mo Tian Zhao's gaze wavered. He didn't want to see Yelu Han forced to this point. He wanted to lend him a hand, but Yelu Han didn't seem to appreciate it. Clenching his fists, Mo Tian Zhao pondered whether or not he should just stand by and watch. After all, he had once allied with Yelu Han. Yelu Han, you have nowhere to run today. You dare to touch my legalism? You're dead. Bang! Han Ju's expression was cold, killing intent surging in his eyes. Come on, I'll accompany you to the end. Bang! Yelu Han shouted. The seriousness on his face was gone, replaced by malevolence. The baleful aura around him dimmed. What do you have to fight us? With your last bloodline soul? Long Ming coldly sneered. He knew that Yelu Han still had his last meridian spirit. It was a sea of baleful qi, extraordinary. Yelu Han was also an earth meridian spirit. Try it and you'll know. Sha Yelu Han shouted coldly. Long Ming and Han Ke started to close in on Yi Louis Han, one from the front and one from the back. They're really shameless. 2 against 1, and yet they talk about it in such a dignified manner. Legalism and dragons. Have they become accustomed to being shameless? Suddenly, just as the atmosphere was incomparably tense and was about to erupt again, such a faint voice reverberated in the surroundings without any warning. Everyone froze, looking for the person who spoke. Who dared to provoke the dragons and legalism? Han Ke-ing and Long Ming, who were just about to attack, paused when they heard these words. Their eyes were very gloomy. Who is being impudent? Get out here. Get out. Among the disciples of the legalism elders who had retreated, an old man shouted furiously. This was clearly a slap to the faces of legalism and dragons. Do all legalism people know how to get out? Why don't you try? I'll learn from you. Get out. As soon as the voice fell, a man walked out from the crowd. He was wearing a clean gray robe, and although he couldn't be considered handsome, he was still very pleasing to the eye. He had shoulder-length purple hair that added to his heroic spirit. His eyes glowed, and he gave off an invisible aura that couldn't be underestimated. Such a person didn't hide or show off, so he didn't attract much attention in the heavenly devil battlefield. You're tired of living. Get out. The old man from the school of legalism did not want to say anything else. He did not hide his killing intent at all, and with a shake of his arm, a stream of energy shot through the air from his palm. It seemed to tear through space as it shot towards the purple-haired man. He wanted to kill him on the spot. Bang! Bang! The energy beam hit the ground, and the surrounding void exploded. Many people who couldn't retreat in time were affected by the unexpected disaster and exploded into a bloody mist. There were also people who were heavily injured. They were terrified but didn't dare to speak out. You can't even withstand a single blow. The legalism elder who had attacked coldly said. He didn't care about the people who had been injured by the unexpected disaster. Is that so? You really can't even withstand a single blow. Suddenly, such a voice sounded in the ears of the legalism elder who had just attacked. As the voice sounded, an invisible claw directly grabbed his head. Bang! Before the last word could be heard, the legalism elder, who was quite strong, had his head twisted off and turned into a bloody mist with a muffled bang. Fierce killing intent, ruthless and cruel. Such a scene was extremely shocking. Bang, 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 bang. At the same time, the legalism elders and experts around the legalism elder all had fear in their eyes. Their pupils contracted. They didn't know what was going on. They only felt a terrifying Yuan spirit attack in their Niwen palace. The void distorted, and the fear of death climbed into the depths of their souls. In the end, their bodies shattered one after another in the void, like a bloody firework, and their souls were destroyed. Pucci, only a few legalism experts and elders managed to escape, but they vomited blood and were heavily injured. Their eyes were filled with fear. Do the legalism really think that you're invincible? You should know that there are people in this world that you can't afford to offend. This is the price for daring to attack me. As the voice sounded, the purple-haired man who had just disappeared appeared in the void. His expression was calm, and he killed many legalism elders and experts in an instant as if nothing had happened. This is an expert, a terrifying expert. Is it an expert from the older generation, or is it a nameless young sovereign? Gulp, gulp, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. No one would have thought that such a man would be such a terrifying expert. The most shocking part was that even one of the 9 great clans, the school of legalism, didn't take the violet-haired man seriously. He was fierce and murderous, and as soon as he attacked, the school of legalism paid a heavy price in blood. At this moment, all eyes were on the purple-haired man. Jialo Juiyu, Jialo Guanyu, Su Yangzi, Lian Qingrong, Mo Tianshao, Little Tiger Du, Henglin, and the others were all secretly shocked. At this moment, even Yelu Han was astonished. He looked at the purple-haired man with surprise. He didn't think that there would be someone who dared to attack the legalism at this time. And this violet-haired young man was none other than Du Xiaofu's disguise technique. Based on the principle of, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, Du Xiaofu decided to act. If not, Yelu Han's fate would be sealed. No matter who you are, die. But it was only for a moment. Han Kueijing, who had originally wanted to kill Yelu Han with Long Ming, was now filled with anger. His face was ferocious, and the corners of his eyes were twitching. His killing intent was like a gust of wind as he rushed towards Du Xiaofu like lightning. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.